Good evening. Welcome to the 2023 Virtual Great Lakes Fishing Show. It is Saturday night. It is segment 6. This is one of the segments I'm excited about all of them, but having my good friend Casey Prisco right next to me here co-hosting this show is really exciting. We are at the Greater Niagara Fishing and Outdoor Expo in Niagara Falls, New York. Captain Casey Prisco co-hosting this 2-hour chunk. Captain, how you doing?
I'm excited to be here. I mean, you've really got good at that announcement in the beginning there. You're nailing it.
By the 6th time, I start to figure
I'm going to tell you, it's impressive. And you know, you never stumble, and it's just you're solid. Mm-hmm. You probably got a big fan base growing.
You know, it is pretty amazing how many people walk by here and they're like, hey, I heard you know Casey Prisco.
You know what's funny is, like, have you seen Chris Larson? I'm like, yeah, he's over there. And there's like a waiting line. I actually forged one of your autographs earlier.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, you'll be on the radio soon.
Yeah, I mean, with
Howard Stern, who? It'll be Chris Larson.
Right. With my autograph and $1.50, you can get a candy bar.
It's about another $2.18 now. They're expensive. I looked at a king-size Snickers bar. It's about $2.18 at Walmart, and that's about as cheap as you get. Brutal.
You've been doing a bunch of seminars this weekend.
I have.
Tell us about what the crowd's been like here. Why don't you pull up a little bit closer to that microphone?
Is that better?
You can hear your beautiful voice.
Oh, I don't know if I have a beautiful voice, but to be honest with you, this is my first year doing the seminars out here. I do a lot of reports, which is kind of easier when I'm at my house, and after charter, I'm kind of tired. I can just do it without thinking. It took a little thought. I was blown away with how many people attended the seminars. It was kind of I ran out of chairs the first seminar.
Yeah.
I had a guy come in and said, there's a standing room only. I said, we'll get you more chairs. I couldn't believe there was that many people. But it's definitely it's nice to give back to the fishing community. Even if they don't charter with me, it's great to help the little guy out. And, you know, if I can increase their catch by one fish, it means a lot to me. And, you know, I think it definitely means a lot to them. You know, They don't get to do it as much as I do. So I've seen a lot of fathers and sons, which is awesome. That's how I started up here. And I got to take you out a few years ago with your dad and your son, and they're my favorite trips, you know. And sometimes I can't get their father and son out, but I know they're going out in their own boat. If I can help them, I like it. Yeah.
So I mean, your seminar, of course, is going to be full, but you walk through that hallway, even just regular people doing seminars, and then just the common seminar speakers, not the Casey Prisco Superman types seminar speakers.
Thanks, Pete.
Those guys are drawn. Like, we walked through the rooms this afternoon, and full room. So people are here to learn about how to catch more fish. It's got to be exciting for people like us that work in this field, and again, you're trying to make a living off people fishing with you, but you're really a person who promotes fishing, trying to get more people involved in the sport.
Sure. Yeah, I love it. I the more people that fish, the better, you know.
Well, you talked about the trip that I took with my son and my dad. We came to you out in Pulaski, and that's why I wanted to talk a little bit with you about tonight before we get into the rest of the show, is fishing that east end of Lake Ontario.
Sure.
Tell us about kind of how that side of the lake sets up for you.
Right now, I mean, this has been such a crazy winter, or crazy summer winter. It hasn't had much ice. If we could get out there right now with the big boats, I mean, there's guys going with little boats right now. They're out there waiting. I mean, the conditions are good. The lake's a little warmer than normal. I'm hoping to be in the water by March 1st, at least with the little boats. The bigger boats, I'm checking the weather every day. I'm thinking that first week I'm going to splash 1 or 2 of them for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'll have all 4 in right away, but definitely going to have 2 in pretty soon. By mid-March, it looks like it's going to be on. And there's definitely a lot of browns out there from what I've seen. I'm looking forward to it. You know, I love being on the water. I love seeing people catch fish. So I've been missing that out of my daily diet. So I'm going to go out there as soon as I can and have it happen.
So you're kind of right out of Pulaski. You got Oswego just to the west of you.
Yep.
Talk about kind of how that season progresses through the year in that area.
So I fish, obviously I start as soon as I can. March, April, we're going to fish Mexico Bay. A lot of structure there, a lot of creeks coming in. Pretty much the perfect storm for brown trout fishing. You have structure, you have creeks, you have dirty water. It does get a lot of boat traffic, but we have a good population of browns that are there. And May, I take my boats out to Wilson, New York for the salmon bite. This year I have one of the guests coming here in a little bit, Russell Gahagan coming. He's going to drive one of my boats for me and captain it. He does salmon school, so he's actually going to do like a salmon school on the water. Here's a shameless plug. I do have some dates open if you want to fish with Russell Gahagan or myself and Wilson. Look me up and get a hold of me on Facebook, or you can give me a call, 845-234-5024. That was shameless, huh? Sorry.
We accept it.
Yeah, okay, cool. As long as you're, that's cool. After I go out there for the salmon bite, I come back, and then it's brown trout, lake trout. Hopefully the salmon show up June-ish, July. We fish salmon, Lakers, brown, steelhead, right on through until October. Pull boats, hunt some pheasants, go to Key West, vacation some other places, back out to South Dakota, shoot some birds for Cooper, come do a podcast with Chris and Trevor, sports show out here, get the boats ready, and we do it all over again in 2024.
Right. So
Life's good.
yeah, life's good.
Yeah.
It could be worse. So you brought up one name in there, Cooper. Who's Cooper?
Cooper is my German short-hair pointer. That's not really a German short-hair pointer by any characteristics of the dog breed. Do not buy a German short-hair pointer thinking it's going to act like Cooper. I don't know how, why. I'm blessed. The dog is as good as he is. He's my fishing buddy. He's my buddy at home. It's funny. I go away for 4 days and I miss him. You know, he's definitely my buddy. He loves fishing on the boat. He loves seeing all the people. He looks forward every morning for 10 to 12 treats that he gets on the way out. Afternoon charter after he does his business at the dock. 10, 12 more treats, nap time, maybe some scratches behind the ears, and he just loves being on the boat with me, and I love having him on the boat. You know?
Yeah, he goes everywhere with you.
Everywhere. He's been South Dakota. He went lobster fishing with me. I was fortunate enough to have one of my charters was a lobster guy out in Maine, Friendship, Maine, and he brought me up, and we fished lobsters. Cooper was on the lobster boat, and he was interested in the lobsters, but I had to kind of like tell him no. And once I told him no, he was cool with it, you know, because their claws were free at the time until you put rubber bands on them. And he hung for the day on the lobster boat. And I did find out that I could possibly get seasick. We went out and tuna fished the next day in between lobster fishing, and there was 45-mile-an-hour gale winds, and we were on a 48-foot custom lobster boat, and about 18 foot wide. The guy goes, "You get seasick?" I'm like, "Nah, I think I'll be good. I haven't
spent my whole life on a boat.
Yeah, I'm like, we'll be good." It's dark, 2 a.m. We leave the dock. We're going out, and we get past the islands, and I'm going to tell you, I had to get down to a T-shirt and get out of the cab. It's like being in a box, being shook around, and not being able to look at land or anything because there's nothing to stare at. It's dark.
Right.
It was close. Cooper was enjoying treats. I was holding my guts in to make sure it didn't happen. I was fortunate enough that the light came up, and I made it through. But no, he goes everywhere with me. I'd have him here, but he'd be all running around, and I couldn't keep an eye on him.
Yeah. I heard you talking the other day about fishing in Costa Rica, and you guys were like 60 miles offshore, and I'm like, that sounds fun. I don't know if I could handle that. And that's the one thing that when we go on the Great Lakes, like I can still at least look out, even if we're a long way offshore, to see that shore and kind of get everything going again, get myself straightened out. But like, I don't know about going 50 miles offshore where you can't see anything.
You know, it's Costa Rica is kind of like Wilson, where it's not really. I'm going with a good friend of mine, Jeremy Barber from that's made offshore that the marlin surround. So you spend 5 days down in Costa Rica. It's about a 14-hour jog out to the grounds where you're going to fish. You fish 3 days, you live on the boat, and they say 15 marlin a day bites. I don't guarantee you're going to catch 15, but they're 250 to 400-pound blue marlin, and there's a lot of them, and I'm looking forward to it. You know, I'm fortunate enough I get to do what I love to do for fishing, but I still love going on my own too once in a while, and I'm really looking forward to that trip. It's going to be a fun time.
All right, let's answer. David's got a few questions here. I don't know if you want to get the top 10, but let's just give him a few. What's the top 10 flasher color combinations for meat and flies for Summer Kings? Give him some stuff for 5 in the morning, and then change over in the summer.
The bullfrog, obviously, by Oki. Whitefish is an Oki attractor. Greenfish. Dirty Goose Twinkies behind them. Atomic. Dirty Goose Twinkies Atomic. 41 Twinkies or stud Twinkies are good behind all 3 of those rigs. He also makes a white glow Twinkie. It's all white Twinkies that glow with a white head. That'd probably be 3 of my rigs that are always in the water most of the year. As it gets a little brighter, I might put some chrome stuff in. The biggest thing I'd say is start with a mix and let the fish tell you what they want. Later in the season, if I'm running flies, last year Atomic, the original hammer fly was really good. 41 fly, stud flies. every day it's different. The water's different, but for the most part, if you're looking for a good atomic pack, he makes Dirty Goose's picks. It's actual package that's put together already with the flies that I like to use, and a lot of great captains use them. Look him up on his website, and you can actually purchase that from him. That'll give you a really good start with flies for Lake Ontario.
And we'll have Tom on later on. He'll be the last guest on tonight's segment, and you can kind of hear all about that. And Patrick Thayer, he wants to know 5
Captain
spoons.
Pat.
Yeah, he wants
Good spoons for browns.
Yeah.
Well, Pat likes the blue whale.
I don't think he wants to know what he likes.
Oh, he wants to know what I like.
you like.
No, I'm not telling him what to use. I'm using on my boat. He's out there with my boats. No, NBK, UV NBK, Lance's Two Face, UV Green Glow Alewife, UV Can't Afford It, and Mongoose. I would say probably 5 really good spoons. They all have their right time. Sometimes first thing in the morning, the brights work, but Black Widow is another one. All Stinger spoons, Stinger size. I think Stinger's got the best spoons, honestly, when it comes to brown trout fishing. That's all I use, really, for browns.
All right. Questions coming in now. Here's one from Facebook. It's Rob Ferguson. Rob says, what rods do you recommend for a wire dipsy rod or someone with a small boat? Use a normal dipsy rod, just replace the end with a roller or tip. What do you think about that?
I like a 9-foot medium Telora. I tend to put a totally tip on, and I'll use 600 LC, new reel from Dakota, newer style Dakota, or on my boat, I run the older style 700 LCs, line counter Dakotas, with 20-pound Malin wire. If you're on a smaller boat, you can run 30-pound wire on it, but that's what I choose to use. I like Shimano. I pro staff for Shimano. I like all their gear. It's never let me down. So 9-foot medium Telora with a twilly tip.
So, you know, we kind of are talking about east side of Lake Ontario. We've gone to Costa Rica. We've taken trips with the dog and everything too. Let's talk a little bit about once in a while you'll take a run up to Henderson as well.
Sure.
Go chase Lakers. What's that all about?
So on our end of the lake, we're fortunate enough to have a pretty diverse fishery. You can go get browns. You can run offshore and find salmon. Our lake trout in Lake Ontario, and I'll probably catch some slack for this, but a lot of people don't give them as much credit as they deserve. They're smart fish. They're always on the bait, Chris. And for some, they really like a sandy bottom. And we find that after May, those fish that we find normally out in front of our port migrate north 11 miles, 12 miles up towards Henderson. And they pile up there. And it's a pretty amazing fishery. I mean, the one spot we go is 22 miles. But once you get there, it's solid Lakers for as long as you want and as many as you want. You know, it's that trip's a long trip. You know, if I ran that trip, I've done it a few times. You call it a marathon trip. It's a 12-hour trip because you're spending an hour and 25 minutes, hour and 30 minutes just getting there.
Yeah.
And once you get there, you want to enjoy it. It's not one of those things you want to end quick.
Right.
You know, it's over the rail as many as you want.
Yeah.
It's fun.
What's that like for the clients?
They love it. To be honest with you, they love it. Most people, you know, they give Lakers a bad name, but I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of times, most people have never caught a fish that's over 5 or 10 pounds, and they get the reel in an 18, 20-pound lake trout. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome for me, and I think it's even more awesome for them. And I like them. You know, I think the smaller ones are decent to eat. You know, the bigger ones, I like them smoked. When COVID happened, I actually went out and we caught 15 salmon, and we kept 15 lake trout over a course of a couple days, and I had them smoked. And I didn't tell my buddies about which fish was which, and I said, try this salmon. I smoked it. I told them I did it, which was a lie, but it was a good lie. They like the lake trout.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 like the lake trout. Yep.
I think the Lakers are great for smoking. They're made for smoking.
Yeah.
That's what they're made for.
They eat the same thing a salmon eats, you know. They're just fattier because they don't lose their core or when they're going to spawn or they're chasing, you know, temperature. They're happy all the time.
So that's what the clients like. One of my favorite parts of fishing with you, I call it the Cooper sprint, is, you know, you get to the dock and Cooper's gone, man. He's got to go find his favorite tree.
Yep, he's finding a tree. He's finding a snake, a frog, a baby rabbit, anything. He loves the hunt. But yeah, he's first one off the boat. and he loves it.
After that 12-hour trip, man, he's probably got to go.
Yeah. He'll go on the boat occasionally if he has to go. You know, when he was younger, he had no problem doing that. Now he frowns upon. Like I can tell when he's ready to go, and it takes a little coaching because he thinks I'm gonna get mad. But we have a wash down hose, and he's my buddy, so he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's okay, buddy.
It's okay, buddy. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Here, let me show you how to do it. You know, I'll go right alongside of him.
Right.
I'm kidding. No, he's the best dog anyone could ask for. He really is. He's just easy. He gets it.
Yeah. And he's a great tool for you. And you've told me this before. It's, you know, you're out there and, you know, even Superman sometimes has a kryptonite kind of day, and he can keep morale up and keep everybody happy. And who doesn't love a dog, you know?
Yeah. One little girl did it.
One little girl.
Out of, I don't know how many.
Hajecki.
Yeah. Well, silverback gorillas don't really like other animals. They don't even like themselves. You see what they do to their mates when they mate?
Right.
I mean, it's like caveman style. Like they over the head.
Yep.
You know, that's Rick. The silverback. It's okay. He's getting, you know what? Since he's had a kid, he's getting a lot easier in life. I've seen him with his kid the other day. He's mellow. Yeah. He's mellowing out. But I think it's his wife. She wears the pants. She could kick his ass. Is that a bad word again?
Let's save some of the barbs for Hajecki.
Okay, yeah, we'll wait for him. I'm going to burn him good.
Yeah. But what are some things that you see other than people touching the drag when they're reeling the fish in that you think could help the average person catch more fish that you see when guys come on board your boat?
I see a lot of people don't take. Females are the best to have on a boat, and kids can't give you too much. They can't pull on it too hard. And this is going to sound bad for the guys, but I'm going to be honest. We have an ego. I've caught fish before. Don't tell me how to do it. I know what I'm doing. Well, they're pulling hard, or they're bass. You know, the rod's over here to the left and right. They're bassing it. I think some guys are too aggressive. The excitement gets in there, and they're just too aggressive. Where, disclaimer: do not tell your wife or girlfriend what to do. Have your buddy do that. It goes way better than you saying, "Hey, you should do it this way." I've seen it. I watch. You know, they listen better to your friends or to the captain than they will from their husband or their boyfriend. So, disclaimer, guys. Let me coach, or have your buddy coach if you don't want me to coach. It's going to work out well for you, way better than if you tried coaching. I think the biggest thing is just let the fish do his thing, and it's not a rush. Enjoy the fight, keep constant pressure on him, and most of those fish are going to be landed.
What's the secret to a successful net job?
Don't ever look the fish in the eye before he's not in the net. If you look the fish in the eye as you go to net him, he's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's going to get you, and you're going to see that fish. The rest of the day, that night, next couple nights, I still see some fish that got away, Chris.
There's a reason they call it shark eyes, right?
I'm telling you, do not stare him in the eye. That's the first thing. And don't ever scoop a fish before he's ready, you know? Make sure they're ready. Don't force the net job. You can. I mean, you look like a hero if you force it, but you can look like a zero if you force it and miss.
Give them time to do their thing.
Work the thing and work it out, you know?
Very good. Well, let's bring on the first guest here. He's hanging out here in the bullpen. It's Chris Kempf. Chris.
Signing an autograph, guys. He'll be right here.
Come on over, Chris.
Let me move out of your way, Chris. Hang on.
No, you can go right behind you. That's our design.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you are. Have a seat, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Chris Kempf. Let me make sure I got your mic on here. We do. All right. Chris Kempf, you do reel repair.
I do.
Repair. Tell us about that.
Well, I do. It doesn't matter what kind of reel it is. I clean, service, repair, upgrade, whatever the customer wants.
And you've been doing some seminars here this weekend at the show about reel maintenance.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, yearly, you know, the weekend warrior guys should be at least cleaning their reels once a year. Take them off, spray them down with some soap and water, get all the grit out of the level winds, back the drags off, then they're good to go for the next year.
Okay.
Professional guys that use their reels every year, they should be cleaned at least once a season.
Go ahead and come right up to the mic. Don't be afraid of it. I know sometimes just so everybody comes in here, it's not used to talking to a mic wants to get as far away as they can.
No,
I think it's because it's gold.
It's gold.
It's intimidating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like Rush Limbaugh here.
Yeah.
You're not the first person to say that. But the gold mic we save for the guests because you're the important guy. So what do you see when reels come in? What are some things that you see when people bring their equipment in to see you?
Mostly it's neglect. You know, They either leave them out in the sun all day long in the boat. It's just mainly neglect, because that'll chew up the level wines. That's usually the first thing that goes. Or they've never cleaned them in 15 years, and now everything's gunk.
Right.
And drags are shot, and they need to be replaced.
Okay. So yeah, what's the solution for that when somebody comes in that's like, and this thing has been laying around for a while?
Just my process to clean is disassemble, get all the tough grease off, then I steam it. I use a steam cleaner. I have a steam cleaner, and then I'll put it in a ultrasonic cleaner with like Dawn, and that gets all the residue off. And then I'll put everything back with clean grease. I use Cal's Real Grease, and I use TSI 321 oil. Put everything back together, make sure everything's smooth.
Is that something that people should be doing on their own with the lubrication? How does that work?
Well, if you're gonna pull the reel apart, you have to kind of know what you're doing. Some of these reels, like Shimano's and Okuma's, they got little springs in here and there, and you can lose all that stuff.
So that's a no.
That's a no.
Leave it to the professionals, guys.
Every year, I get half a dozen reels in a bag. Say I took it apart and I can't put it back together.
So how much is this one thing that I mean, based on what Casey's saying, how much maintenance can a person do on their own? Is it something that
they can extend the time that I need to see it if they clean it once a year.
Okay.
They'll extend that way out.
And back your drags off. I back my drags off after every charter. All my guys do. It saves
backing your drags off.
Saves the drag.
Because what happens is when you've got a brass or steel gear, you've got some sort of a disc, whether it's carbon, fiber, or some variation thereof, a steel, another disc, and what you do when you got that compressed, everyone from the factory greases their drags. So when you compress that grease gets pushed out and it gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and your tendency is to tighten it more and more and more as time goes on. Eventually, you're almost at full drag, and you don't have full drag anymore. So that
you get it'd be like in the restaurant world, you're in the back of every kitchen.
Yep.
When it
I
comes
see
to
every
that
steak.
Stuff. So yeah. So tell us about some things that you see that maybe the average person wouldn't have an opportunity to experience when it comes to reels.
Well, stay away if you're fishing salmon for sure. Stay away from the cheap reels.
Okay.
That's the Magdas. Most of the Daiwas until you get to the Saltist. The Saltist and up is fine. All the Shimano Takotas, they're fine. They're all built strong enough. They all have an instant anti-reverse.
What's the best reel out there in your opinion?
The one that you like.
What's that?
Don't be afraid
to say it. Don't be afraid to say it. Chris,
whatever you like.
Well, you take them apart, so you got to know it's what
this was a really nice reel.
Yeah.
The Okumas, they're an entry level, but if you get a convector or cold water, they'll do the job.
Sure.
So you don't have to spend $300 on a reel to have a good time. You can spend, $130 for a convector. But just stay away from the reels that don't have an instant anti-reverse.
Okay. Why is that?
They just don't hold up. They don't hold up.
And when you're kind of working on, let's say you're going to work on Casey's reels that get used every day, and then you're going to work on my reels that get used maybe 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah.
What do you see in a difference as far as what those things look like when they come in?
Well, his will have more wear and tear on it, but as long as he's doing some maintenance to them, you won't have to replace any parts.
Okay.
Just clean all that stuff off, start fresh.
Is it one of those things that a lot of people say about boats? If you drive them every day, they'll be in better condition than if it sits in your garage for 3 months and you pull it out.
They still wear out.
Yeah.
They still wear out. The big thing is backing the drags off. that'll make your reel perform 100 times better.
So backing the drags out, guys. That's what you need to do at the end of every trip. We got Nick Cook, who's been joining us pretty much all weekend as well. Nick's got a question for you. He says, when doing a drag upgrade, do you see the reel wear out faster after a drag?
No, absolutely not.
So better, worse, the same?
Same.
Same.
Yeah, well, I mean, the difference between a felt drag and a carbon drag is the amount of pressure you can put on that carbon drag and the way it releases.
Okay.
So you want your drag to release smoothly. You don't want it to go boom, boom, boom. How many times have you had a rod and the line is jerking off the reel? That's not good because you're putting a hole in the fish's mouth, and you know you want that. If that fish wants to take the drag, it wants to take it off smooth. You want to be reeling this and that drag going that way as smooth as can be. So as far as wear and tear, carbon drags wear out just like the felt drags wear out. They just wear out a different way. They're not going to tear up a gear or the washers in between because they're all stainless. You know, nothing like that.
Do you see any difference in, let's say, a guy brings a reel in that he's been running lead core on compared to a reel that he's been running on his wire divers?
Nope.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Again, the big thing is keeping the dirt out of level line and backing your drags off. That's the best thing you can do for your reels.
Casey, you got anything for Chris?
No, I like his answers.
I like his answers.
You know, it really doesn't matter what reel you have, and everybody has a budget they have to live within, but you know, you can improve all of them.
Sure.
You can improve all of them. And it doesn't matter to me what you have. I'm not going to tell you got to have this or that. It doesn't matter.
I won't either tell you that, but I did start out and I bought a lower end reel. And what I've learned is save your money and buy the better reel instead of that lower end reel, because what happens is you buy that lower end reel because you needed to have them, you wanted to get out there, and that's what the money you had. Now you have to get rid of that reel because you want to go to the reel that you should have.
Much.
You're spending more than you would have spent if you just did it and bit the bolt the first time.
Right.
You know, I did that in the beginning, and now I'm obviously a Shimano guy, but
I run Okumas only because I don't run them every day, and I run them on the weekends, and
they work
for
walleye.
Walleye and salmon.
Okay.
You know, I use for both.
Yep.
So, but I did change the drags up, and I clean them every year. Sometimes I'm guilty of leaving them, forgetting about them, but
me too. It happens at times, you know. At the end of the trip, you want to get home, you're tired.
It's raining out.
Yeah.
You want to put your stuff away.
Put everything away, and it happens. But for the most part, I'm pretty good. My guys are really good about it.
Yeah.
I would say Captain Pat's probably the best about it, backing it down.
And let me clarify, when I say back off the drags, I don't mean back it off so the line's falling off the reel. I just mean back it off so that, you know, it's not falling off the reel. It doesn't have to be completely off. But your reel should be able to the drag should be able to back off, and you can pull the line off. And the other, again, just go home and pull your reels. If it's jerky, it's done. It's time for a drag job.
Need some work done on it.
Yes.
Chris, you've got Chris's Reel Repair. That's your business, but you've got a new home. Tell us about that.
Back in April, May of last year, Steve that owns Captain Bob's had a medical issue, and I'm good friends with him. So I came over, ran the store while he was having his problems, and I just moved my business over to his place.
Nice.
So we're in Main Street in Clarence. You can find me at nyreelrepair.com. You can go to captainbobsoutdoors.com. We're all merged together now.
And you said nyreels.com is your website?
Yeah, that's my original website. Yeah.
All right. So do people send you reels from all over? Where you get reels?
Oh, I get reels from all over the country. I've gone from Montana, Texas. I've got them all over the place. Canada,
We're talking about in our audience is really a trolling reel type of audience, but I mean, do you do like fly fishing reels and spinning reels and those kinds of things?
It doesn't matter what kind of reel it is. Center pins.
Did you go to school for this, or just you're a hands-on guy?
I was always a hands-on guy.
Nice.
And again, if you bring me a bag of parts, I'll put it back together.
That's awesome.
You know, it doesn't really. It's just when I take a reel apart, you'd cry because it's just laying in front of you. You know, and
Yeah.
people have to kind of put this, and this, but it's laying in front of you, and you know, I just have people laugh at me, but it just comes natural to me. I don't know why. But the nice thing about now me being with Captain Bob's, I can spool your reels, I can put wire, copper, lead core, doesn't matter. We also take trades, so if you want to trade it in, or you bring in a reel that's no good, I can sell you another reel. So it's worked out well for both of us.
So you talked about brands and what you like, and kind of among those product lines, we're talking trolling reels. But what about, like, what's the hardest reel to work on? What type of reel is the most difficult type of reel?
Shimano spinning reel.
Shimano spinning reel?
The Stradics, Stellas. The Stella's the worst.
What's tricky about that?
It's just every little plastic part has a little bronze bushing in it where a pin goes through it, and there's little tiny springs, and they're brutal.
What about saltwater reels?
Saltwater reels, I don't do a lot of them because if people don't take care of them, they're just trash.
Right.
Saltwater
Salt
just kills
kills
them.
it.
Yeah, it just kills them. So I do a few for saltwater guys that like go on vacation. They come back, they'll give it to me after they come back from vacation. I'll clean them out, get them ready for the next year. So I do a bunch of those. But if you get, you know, most of the saltwater guys are running really expensive stuff, and they go to the same shop that they get their line spooled on, and you know, they're constantly taking theirs apart and re-greasing them.
All right. Well, Chris, we appreciate you swinging by.
Yeah,
the
no
booth
problem.
And
Very nice meeting you.
down talking to
Nice
us.
meeting you.
It's Chris's Reel Repair, and it's nyreels.com.
nyreelrepair.com.
nyreelrepair.com. You can look up Chris, and he can help you out if you got some problems. But
Appreciate it.
you know, it's really nice for you to come out here too, and
Thank you.
just talk to people in the seminar rooms about
Yeah.
how to take care of their equipment.
Yeah,
and
and
make sure it
in the
lasts
seminar rooms, I'm actually hands-on. I'll take a reel apart in front of them, and we'll do a Q&A. So it's good to get one of those in. And if you come in the store and you got questions, and you can call me anytime too.
long. Very good.
Phone number's on there. I'll help you walk you through it. You know, most guys are not my competition, so
Yeah, and that's one thing that you know, we find with a lot of things too. I help some other people in some businesses, and we just say, hey, if you teach somebody, like if somebody goes online and says, this is how you do a carburetor repair.
yeah,
Like that's not a competition against you.
No.
Typically what happens is guys watch the video and go, I don't want to do that.
exactly.
I'm going to take it to this guy and let him do the
That's
carburetor
exactly
repair.
what happens
Exactly.
every time.
Yep. So that's why it's so good to share that knowledge, because people are looking for it.
Yeah.
They're going to try to figure out themselves, and they're going to see what goes into it. And go,
Every seminar I go to, I go through the whole thing. It says, for $20, I'm not doing that.
right, exactly. let Chris do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank
All
you,
right.
sir. Appreciate
Thank
you
you
stopping
again.
by. Thank you.
Take care.
We're going to bring him on a little early. I think we were planning on having Rick on at 5:40, but
What time's it now?
it's 5:33.
Let's bring him on.
And Rick's hanging out here in the bullpen, so come on in. Captain Rick Hajecki. How you doing, sir?
I get the Pete Alex mic.
You get the gold mic.
Wow.
Yep.
Is my sound okay?
Now don't touch it.
Hold on.
Casey said
Let me get your hair for you. There you go.
He
Good.
touched it and messed it all up. He gets mad at me when I touch his reels, and he comes into my booth and starts touching mics. But where you're sitting right now is perfect. Just
Hey,
like that.
Did I ever yell at you on my boat?
Rick never yells.
Well, he couldn't
I'm laid
tell you-
back.
Listen, he wouldn't tell you to touch his reels because you guys blanked that day just about. I mean, thank God for a couple dumb fish to save the day.
No. You know what saved the day?
What?
A thunderstorm, because it got me off the water because the fishing was horrible.
Right.
Right.
I understand.
Yeah, caught two big ones
Yeah.
in like 2 hours, and that was it. That's
Yeah.
all we needed.
You know, Pete Alex has a voodoo doll with you, and he was stabbing it that day that you didn't have a good catch. He didn't like
believe
my
it.
catch.
I
You know, he's
believe it.
talking smack about it.
I would probably come up with one of those two if I had lost as much money to myself as he has, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. You know, he's getting old. He probably doesn't even realize he's lost that much money, to be
yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We make fun of him for being old and his memory being gone, but we're gonna be there soon.
No, we're not.
Yeah. It's coming.
What's he, like 70?
It's coming.
I think he's like 75 years old.
Huh?
That's a long time away, man. What are you, 44 right now? 45? That's 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
I mean, that's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know who's really old? Songen.
Songin.
Yeah. They've been hanging out in the Dream Weaver booth. Did you see the picture? I'm going to get that autographed.
If you guys have not been at the show, you've missed a great wardrobe by Bob Songen. The shirts that he's been showing up with, it's almost like he belongs in the GQ magazine.
I'm going to tell you what, I don't know what his wife did for a living, but she had to be a dry cleaner because they are pressed nice, steamed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a stitch out. And tomorrow he's got a yellow one. I mean,
Honestly,
he's ending the show with a bang.
He's going to look like an offshore planer board.
Yep.
I think he told us that he was 67.
Bob was?
Yeah, I think that's what he told us. He was 67. He has a wonderful head of hair.
Oh,
And yeah, the wardrobe is on point. I mean, first of all, I hope I make it to 67. But if I do, I hope I can wear the same type of stuff he's wearing.
what's your hair looking like, Chris?
It's gone, man.
Oh, then you don't have to worry about the hair. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you
the
got
hair's
half of it out of the way. Hair's gone. You just got to make it 67
I just want the shirt.
and put some.
Those shirts are fly.
They are. I might try to wear one.
We should next year. We should really up our game when it comes to dressing. I mean, hoodies and t-shirts.
Yeah.
Right.
Who wants a Fish Hawk hoodie? I'm going to get a Bob Songen shirt. Real excitement.
Yep.
I'm going out there. I'm going to get loud. I'm going to yell, rigger, 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 or bam, or stud fly on a spinner. And it's going to be huge.
Was it stud fly on a spinner?
Spinna.
Spinner.
Spinna.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
a Jersey thing, isn't it?
I don't know where Bobby's from.
You guys from out east.
He's
but I'm
from
pretty
Oak
sure-
Orchard, I can tell you that.
He's from Rochester.
North Orchard.
No, he's from Western Buffalo.
Is he out from out
Remember,
here?
that's where his cousin. Well, you know his cousin.
Oh, I know his cousin. Let me tell you about his cousin. I know him. Put him up.
I used to work for a lady that was from New Jersey. Her name was Linder. Linda, but she adds an R to anything that has an N, so it's Linder.
Yeah.
So spinna, that's not a Jersey thing. It's Linder.
I don't know where you got it from, but he follows reports of spinners,
Yeah.
stud flies.
Yeah.
Bam.
Bam.
That was a fun introduction.
It was a funny show. Why wouldn't it be? So
We got some great characters on this lake.
I know.
You know,
It's all
Yes.
about having fun, and he's one of my favorites. You know,
Yeah.
we have a lot of fun with him. You know, he can be. I almost swore. I caught myself. I made it 40 minutes. He can be a real jerk at times, but he's definitely a good buddy of mine, and I appreciate our friendship and the laughs that we have.
Yeah. Well, I got to fish with both of you guys in Wilson last year together. I fished with you the year before too separately, but last year together. And I mean, we would spend some evenings in the the local establishments,
Watering
having some
holes.
food and some drinks. And what you're seeing here is pretty much what you guys are when we sit down and have a lunch or have a dinner. It's pretty much the same thing. You guys kind of trading barbs, making fun of Pete, kind of the same thing.
It's the same on
I think,
truckers.
honestly, I think if Casey and I had our own TV show, we'd be the next Jersey Shore.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm not fist pumping. I mean, you got the hair.
I'm just saying, like, it was that how
kinda got the
popular it
blowout.
was.
Oh, yeah.
We'd be good.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
For sure.
Really good because you've got this family and you got like a wife, and then you got Casey.
I got a dog,
You
man.
got Coop.
Yeah.
And
He's a loose
that's
cannon.
his thing, yeah.
I'm not. Rick was on his way to be a loose cannon. Thank God for his beautiful wife, Alex.
Right.
She's really, Rick was hard left. Now he's, the kid. I'm surprised you got. I just didn't think he'd ever find somebody that would marry him. So God bless you, Alex. But I'm really, I don't even know how to say it without getting a little choked up. I'm happy for.
Oh, you want a hug?
No.
Because Chris will give you one. I'm not.
He's got
giving
no
you a
hair,
hug.
man. I'm not into guys with no hair, or guys at all. But it's cool. It's cool to see him raise his kid. The time, like, his priorities have really changed to being a dad, and it's really cool because I didn't see that in him. As close to friends we were, he just never came across as the guy that would be a dad, and he's a hell of a dad.
Man, that kid's got me wrapped around his finger, dude.
Yep.
That'll happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Until you start having more.
No. Snip. Couple weeks. Done.
One?
Yep.
One's good?
Wife's begging me, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a kid or for what?
Both.
He's lying. She's not begging him. I know his wife well. She's not begging him, but you should have
Hey,
one
we're
more.
going to keep this G-rated.
Right.
You should have one more.
No.
Why?
No. That's a lot of work, man. I don't know how people do it with 3-4 kids. People are walking around with 4 kids. Like, I don't know how they do it. God bless them.
Well, it was fun before it happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. G-rated.
I kept it G-rated.
Well, we were planning on talking transducers.
Let's do it.
Casey said he had some other idea.
let's talk about something different. You know, everyone's heard about transducers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What do you want to do?
I'll talk about food in Buffalo. That'll be real quick because there is none. How about tournaments?
When you talk about tournaments,
Want to do that?
I don't care.
Well, whatever you want to do.
It's up to you guys.
This is what we call great television.
Well,
We got people on here that have questions?
yeah, let's just answer questions.
What kind of questions what do you guys want to hear about?
Let's do a Q&A for Rick and Casey. So if you guys have questions, you know, as long as they keep it at least PG rated,
All right, for sure.
let's do it. So why don't you guys give us some questions? And we got one audience member right here.
Well, my hair
You
really
got a
does
question
look
for
bad.
these two guys? We're gonna put them on the spot.
I've got a lot of questions for those guys, but I don't think we can do it within the confines of
Oh, yeah, you can go ahead. We'll keep it PG for you. We can modify it for you. That's no problem.
How about this? I know most of your story, but we'll start with Rick. And how did you get into charter fishing?
I had been fishing this lake since I was probably 5 years old with my father.
This lake, we're talking Lake Ontario.
Lake Ontario, yes. Been fishing it for many years. So when we were younger, he would bring me and my brother out there, and we kind of got hooked on fishing. And it ended up I was my father's alarm clock on the weekends once I got into my teenage years, and we would just fish every weekend. He owned a landscaping business, and he worked at Kodak, so he worked long hour days, and on the weekends we went fishing, and that's just the way it was. We'd fish every day of the fall derby. So as I got older, he said, go get your license and let's start running charters. And that's what I did, and got my license back in 2007. And it's been running charters ever since. And I enjoy it. I enjoy meeting the people. I enjoy putting the smiles on people's faces. And I enjoy the competition out there, even though we're not in a tournament. We're talking to our buddies out there every day, and it's just, to me, I put that little competition factor into it, and
Yeah,
it
100%.
helps you produce when you have to.
And it's still kind of a family thing. You and your brother Craig now work the boat, not necessarily together, but you guys are both captains, and you both run charters off the boat.
Yeah. I run the boat with my brother most of the time. There was a point where I started running charters on my smaller boat in the spring without my brother and let him run the bigger boat. And to be honest with you, I didn't like it. I enjoy fishing with my brother. We have a really good chemistry on the boat. We rarely get into arguments, but when we do, they're really good.
Yeah,
So that's
They're
entertainment.
really good. I've seen a few of them. Craig likes to buy a lot of tackle. Rick's got enough tackle already. So when Craig shows up with a bag,
Yeah.
Rick's already heated, and then he starts putting stuff in the water when Rick's not looking. It's fun at the dock. It's really good.
Yeah.
You know?
My brother
Craig's a
puts
little
some
mellow.
interesting stuff
Craig's
in the water.
more mellow than Rick, and it makes for some really good popcorn, and watch it happen because it's great. Yeah.
People would. I don't think people would believe that we have two different sides of the boat. When we grew up, I was always rigging the port side. My brother rigged the starboard side, and it's like two programs down there. It really is. So
And it's still like that on your boat. Your brother's name's on one side and your name's on the other
yeah,
side.
that's why it's there. Yeah,
That's pretty
exactly.
cool. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, Casey, get a little bit closer to that mic and tell us how you got started charter fishing. We got some questions loading up. Keep putting them in there. We'll get
Same
to them in a
thing.
second.
My dad used to bring me up when I was 4. It was my dad, my grandfather. It'd be a 3 generations trip. We'd come up, and my dad worked with a gentleman that had a charter service, and he'd take some time off in the summer and mate for him. And then 2 or 3 times a year, it'd be guys' weekend away, and we'd come up and fish. And we did that since I was 5. And I probably stopped when I was 18 or 19. The gentleman sold a boat and started saltwater fishing, and I went to fish in the river a little bit, and I missed fishing the lake, so I bought a boat and started fishing the lake with my own boat. And I met a few people up here, Dave Filato, and then the owner of Fat Nancy's, Rob Ripka, and Tom Burke, Cove Steel, and Andy at Chase and Tail, and this guy right here. Actually, I can.
Where
tell you
did we
what's
meet?
up. We met on the Cold Steel. You put me in a headlock. Well, the first time you looked at me,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't even acknowledge me. You know, he's just like a stuck-up snob. You know,
Right.
like one of those girls that are, too good for you. That was him. He like,
Well,
came
when
on.
I found out
Because
you were
he's
from
really-
Pennsylvania,
Well,
I
it
didn't
had
care.
nothing to do with Pennsylvania. What it had to do is you just socially awkward. You didn't want to make friends because you thought you had enough because you're from Rochester. one of those Rochester guys. So that's fine. So I'm just like, whatever. I don't need to be his friend. I don't even like him. So little by little, he warmed up to me. I had some food, and he likes food. So I gave him some food. We talked. He got mad at me one day saying, pushing up on me. He pinned me in a quarter, put me in a headlock, and took pictures. And
His face was like red as a tomato.
Yeah. Back in the day, Rick's lost a lot of weight. Parenting has done him good. He's lost some weight. But back in the day, he was probably pushing 400. And it was like a sumo wrestler.
I was never close
I was
to
like
400.
195. So I shouldn't even been in the ring with him. And he jits on top of me. My face would have turned red before he was choking me. And I didn't even see it coming.
It's very simple. What do you
Sneak
do?
Attacks me, puts me in a headlock. Take some pictures, Craig. Hurry up. Take some pictures. And this is before social media was even big. Right. So I'm choked out. I didn't tap. I wouldn't tap. You don't ever tap. Not in front of your homies. You pass out, go to sleep. You don't tap. And I didn't do that, and I got some respect, and now we're friends.
What do you do when you get a new guy at work? He's the new guy.
Clearly.
Right? You don't pay attention to him.
If you're watching this, choke your new guys out at work.
He's got to earn his stripes. That's what Casey did. He earned his stripes.
I didn't. You go to sleep before you tap out. Don't punk out.
So this one morning, we're sleeping at Rob Ripka's house. We're about to go fishing. This kid's not waking up. I'm wide awake. I grab my pillow. I bust into his room, and I start smacking him over the head with it. He's like, what's going on? What's the matter? Oh, yeah, it was funny.
He's lucky. I wake up.
We screw with each other all the time.
It's a blast. We have a great time. It's a great friendship. We don't get to fish together as much as we used to. We used to definitely spend a lot of time fishing on the lake. A few tournaments together. Once he got all my secrets, he didn't need me anymore. He's a user. This type of guy he is, but it's cool. If you know what you're dealing with going into it, Chris, a quarter's worth a quarter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
From the time he put you in the headlock, you knew
I'm done listening to this BS. Can we answer some questions?
Yeah, we never actually really got to how he charter fished. We got to the point where you guys met each other.
I got into it.
He saw the limelight and saw guys like me and how cool we looked, and he wanted to be part of the game. Yep. So what's the next question?
I ended up fishing so much that I wanted to go to the next level and allow people to be on the boat and watch them catch fish because I love seeing that. So I ended up 2014, got my captain's license, and been doing it ever since.
Now he's the biggest guy in Lake Ontario.
No, I'm busy.
Mr. Big.
Yep.
I'm just a guy
What's his name? Superman?
I'm just a guy that likes to catch fish. That's all.
Superman and Captain America and Wilson this spring.
Russell the Love Muscle is coming.
Love Muscle.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to a few questions here. We got Philip here from Facebook. He wants to know, and I think this would be good for both you guys. Give him your 9-rod spread in June. What's that look like?
9?
I don't put a limit on the amount of rods in June, and I'll tell you why. June, especially where I fish, I don't know about down in your end of the lake, but in June, there really is not a huge thermocline set up yet. So you got fish that are in all parts of the water column. The more rods you can get in the water in June, the better off you're going to be. June is not a month to be lazy as far as I'm concerned. You want to cover the surface down to 150, 200 feet the best you can with the amount of rods that you have.
You're fishing salmon. On our end, we're going to be probably fishing brown trout. But same thing, I'm going to have 14 to 16 rods in the water. A bunch of lead cores, some divers, riggers, maybe some short coppers, but I'm depending on what I'm seeing. But I'm definitely going to have more than 9 rods in the water.
Yeah, I'll have a side of lead cores from 1 or 2 colors down to 10 colors, a side of coppers, 100s, 150s down to 300-400s, and then your typical rigger spread and diver spread. But the more rods you can get in the water in June when that thermocline is starting to set up, the more success you're going to have.
Sure.
And we're fishing salmon and trout, so salmon, steelhead, we've got a mix. We don't know what we're going to catch. We can catch cohos, whatever's around, but just covering that water column on the western end of Lake Ontario is key.
All right, here's one from Thomas Riley. I like this one. He says, is North Shore Funny Moneyland open for tourneys this year?
I believe it is.
It's open. I crossed the border and went snowmobiling in Quebec a few weeks ago. It felt great to go across that border, and I'm looking forward to getting back to fishing some of those tournaments in Canada. We're going to start it off the end of April over in St. Catharines, and then we've got a few up in Toronto. So looking forward to seeing my North Shore friends competing against them.
They're really not his friends. They don't like him. They just act like they like him.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've been there.
What were you doing up in Quebec?
Snowmobiling.
Snowmobiling.
Might be going again.
Yeah.
A few weeks. Yeah. It's like the snowmobile capital of the world. Do you like trail riding?
Wife, he's not going. She said no.
She doesn't make the decisions.
She does.
No, she
Oh,
doesn't.
She does.
No.
His wife's a black belt. She'll kick his ass.
She will whoop me.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie,
Yeah.
but still don't listen.
So if she can whip you and you can whip him, then she can whip him too.
No. I put some weight on.
Great point.
Right.
I put some weight on, but she could definitely kick my ass. But I think me and him. I mean, if we can get donations together, I'm in.
You want another match?
I do.
You want another shot at the title?
I don't. There's no title. I'm taking it. Yeah, I'm in. Maybe Wilson in the parking lot.
He already said he won't tap out, so that's what I worry about.
You got to go to
fight
sleep.
Somebody who won't quit.
That could be dangerous.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be responsible for how many you have to? 14 boats now?
4.
Oh, I don't want to be responsible for all those boats.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be responsible having to raise your kid because you're not around. You know what I mean? So I won't. I'll take it easy on you. You know, but I'd clearly kick it. I'd take him now.
That's a good question, and I think Rick might be the best person to answer this. But what do you think would be harder to take care of, 1 child or 4 boats?
This is easy. Because with my wife, it's 1 child.
Yeah, that's easier.
I don't think I've ever changed a diaper.
I couldn't change a diaper.
So it's definitely
I have a hard
4
time.
boats for
4
Casey.
boats.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I have a hard time cleaning up Cooper's poop or puke. If he pukes in the house by accident, he ate some bad. Oh man, it's bad.
So there's many answers. What we're saying for Rick, 1 child, for Casey, 4 boats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a good thing if that's how you guys divided and conquered. That.
Yeah.
Casey did the 4 boats. You did the 1 kid. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
100%.
All right. We got one from Tommy. He says, "Crazy Yankee Charters rule."
Tommy catches 134 pounder, and I'm God. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's all it takes.
Nah, he's a good dude.
And that's the thing. You know, my dad has fished with both of you guys, and it's just you guys both have charmed him so much. You call him Big Fish Dan, so he thinks you're both rock stars.
Yeah.
So he caught a big fish with me, 17-pound brown.
Yeah. Well, we don't chase those trout. We go after salmon.
It's okay. I'm gonna tell you can chase those ugly salmon. There's nothing prettier than a brown trout in Lake Ontario.
They're only ugly when they get to your end of the lake.
The salmon?
Yeah, they're dark. And
Sometimes. What's wrong with dark fish?
next question.
Next question. All right, Dean Kruger says, "Do you guys always troll to optimize the fish hawk speed, or a mix of surface?"
I'm always going to use my fish hawk for speed. The only time I'm not going to use a fish hawk is when I'm fishing brown trout. My presentation, I'm going by a fish hawk.
I don't run my fish hawk when I'm brown trout fishing in skinny water because my brother never tells me when it gets shallow. And I don't want to lose it. So it doesn't go in the water, but always go into the speed of the fish hawk. Surface, my GPS surface speed means nothing to me.
No, just shallow, 25 feet and deeper. I want to know what's going on where my lures are, and
I think the only people who care about surface speed are the guys that don't have a fish hawk, and they're like, "Well, what's your surface speed going east?"
right,
Yeah.
Right? Because they want
trying
to.
to
yeah,
trying to take care of
they're trying to figure out how they can match your
So.
speed. 100%.
That's the only time surface speed matters.
Yeah.
When you don't have a fish hawk.
All right, so we talk about this all the time, and that is just replicate the number that catches fish. But what's your lucky number? Tell me what you guys like to run.
On the road?
Yeah.
2-1 to 2-3 for meat for me. Later in the season when I'm fishing the staging dark salmon that Rick don't like to catch, 2.7 to 2.9. Short leads, sometimes 3 feet off the ball with an 11-inch attractor and atomic flag does the trick. But most of the time I'm slower. I like to fish meat. I fish a little slower than most.
I doing some it's you do. So like him saying he's doing 2-1 on the fish hawk to me, like I don't think I've ever ran my fish hawk that slow, regardless of what I'm pulling. But so for me, like as long as it's in between 2.5, 2.7 in that area, that's kind of where I feel like my rods are moving. So
You did run a 2.0 one time. No, it was 3.0. We were over in Canada one time, and Rick had food that we had bought together. So we
This is a
rafted our
great
boats
time.
together. He had, back then, I don't know if you had fish hawks back then. I think you were still running a Moors. He had his Moors down, and I had my fish hawk down, and I let his Trojan tow me around. really good for gas. Because
Yeah.
in Canada, it's like $9 a gallon or 4 liters, whatever they have over there.
Might as well let Jackie.
We had the widest boat on the lake.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a 26-foot beam. We ran 6 riggers, 4 divers, some boards on both sides. We actually hooked up and landed one. Actually, he did on his boat. We were more about eating food, but it was 2-0 on his moor and 3-0 on the Fishhawk. And that was at the same depth. We made sure we did that just to see. So it was pretty neat.
That was probably one of the more fun times. Just
Yeah.
literally tied up and just kept trolling
Yeah, it was good.
and eating food.
I got to see his whole program.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I knew what he was running.
Well, that was actually what I wanted to ask you next. Is you guys, you're good friends. You fish around each other a lot, especially in spring in Wilson, and obviously you communicate with each other quite a bit. What do you think the biggest similarities are to how you guys fish, and the biggest difference? And we're gonna do this like a newlywed game. So let's have you do first the biggest differences, and then I'm going to have him tell me what he thinks the biggest differences are, and we're going to do strengths the other way around. So tell me what you think the biggest differences are, Casey.
I run a lot more meat than he's running in the springtime. He runs a lot more spoons than me.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest difference if I had to say anything.
Okay.
We were talking about this the other day. Like, okay, so if you got spoon fishermen, flesh or fly fishermen, meat fishermen, like rank those 1 to 3 from strongest to weakest in your, for your personal, however you fish. And I was like, spoons, meat, flesh or flies.
Meat, flash or fly spoons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not that I can't fish spoons. I just prefer to catch them on meat. I don't know. It's a confidence thing. It's what you have confidence in. Can I catch them on spoons? Do I catch them on spoons? Yes. Last year, 2 or 3 of the salmon slam fish that were 20 pounds for the win on that came on spoons. The rest came on meat. But that'd be what I'd say is the difference between me and him. Right? We fish probably the same spreads. I mean, pretty much.
No, don't get into similarities yet.
Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, no.
I think it's Casey always tells me you don't like that meat getting your boat dirty.
No, I don't like touching it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to smell it on my hands because I like to eat. And if I go to eat a sandwich and I smell a herring, that's another thing that most people don't know about me. This is
I know about him.
He knows.
He eats 4 things.
And we're going to keep this G-rated.
One of them's pizza. I know that.
But I have never put anything in my mouth that came out of water. No lobster, shrimp, salmon, trout, no matter what it is.
He doesn't eat any
never
fish.
ate it. So
it's horrible to go to Key West with them.
Land animals only. All right.
Brutal.
So no, but I just don't want to smell that on my hands, to be honest with you. But I use plenty of it. It works great. When we're fishing tournaments, 100% have meat in the water. But if I can get away with just putting spoons down, I'm going to put spoons down all day
Kind of
long.
lazy of him, but yeah.
All right, Rick.
No, he
tell
has
me
good success with it.
What you see as similarities in how you guys fish together.
I'd say the way we have our boat set up. I think our boats are set up probably very similar, probably different than most people. I think we both run our diver rods behind our downriggers, which you don't see anywhere else on the Great Lakes, I don't think.
No, most people their divers are behind, closer to the helm. Ours are in the back corners. I've set it up like that on all my boats. He set it up. A couple other boats. Cold Steel has it like
There's a few boats that do it. And so what would you say the pros? And so people always ask me, like, why is your diver in the back corner of your boat and your riggers in front of it? I always tell them the biggest reason is I can make turns and not have to worry about that diver wire rubbing on my downrigger. But the best thing is when you do get a fish on that diver rod, you don't have to get it up and over that downrigger. That's the biggest thing for customers and for
not wrapping around it. It's not hitting on it. You pick it out and it's right there.
The only bad thing I see with it though is when you are netting fish in the corners, that rod needs to get moved more times than not.
Yeah, if you have the right crew with you, or even an old mate, you can hand it to them and it's out of the way. But I definitely like the way our boats are set up. Yeah.
You guys both have pretty wide beam boats. That's got to help too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just got more room to do that.
Yep.
All right, we got a couple of questions coming in here. This one from Dean Kruger. What's your typical length of line behind the downrigger ball?
Typical for me would be probably 20 foot.
Yeah, 15, 20 foot. I think that's fair.
All right.
All depends on the situation, but I think that's an average right there. Yeah.
Okay. Jim, he wants to talk about eating fish from Lake Ontario. A lot of people keeping salmon from Lake Ontario to eat. How are they for contamination? Are they getting cleaner these days, he says?
100% Lake Ontario is getting cleaner than it ever has been, right?
100%.
the DEC puts these fish. So the way I explain it to my customers, the DEC stocks these fish. They have to put some sort of warding out there to cover their butts, right? Most people in the States are taking a fillet off the side of that fish and eating it. But we have cultures in this world that don't waste anything. Us Americans, we waste a lot of stuff. Let's be honest. We're very wasteful people. There's other cultures in this world that don't waste a bit of that fish. So there is mercury in these salmon. From my understanding is it's in the stomach lining.
Yes.
So if you're going to grind a fish up and say, yes, there is a mercury level in this fish, fine. But nobody's eating stomach lining or any part of the fish that has contaminants in them. So I don't know. Have you ever heard of somebody dying from eating a fish at a Lake Ontario?
No, I honestly haven't. And I can tell you the water is getting clearer and clearer every year. And I think, you would see it. You would hear about it. The meat looks good. It's a healthy fish. The fish aren't. I don't think the salmon spends much time. Like you said, it's all fillet. It's not in the belly. I think you're right. I mean, I'll agree with you on that. No, I think they're healthy. Eat them, especially cohos. Delicious. You wouldn't know about that. You're missing out.
Yeah.
Rick,
Dude, what do you think about Pete Alex with a backwards hat?
He's trying to look young. I told you he's old. The guy's trying to look young. Hey, guess what?
What?
While you're here, yesterday I was out here and I saw Stealth Core from Fish USA has Pete Alex on it.
Mm-hmm.
He signed an autograph on it. I leave here. I'm walking by. Dude gives me $200 for it. Guess what I got today? I'm gonna get at least $150 for that. I mean, I don't know if you can see that, guys. Look how young he looks there. When he gets on this in the next couple minutes, you're gonna see he's weathering. And oh man, got my Fish USA hoodie, so I can look just like my boy Pete when he gets on the show.
Make sure you put the hood up.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. He's gonna wear his hood backwards. I'm gonna wear it just like this. Mama's gonna knock you out, sucker.
All right, man. You guys have fun with
All
that.
right.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Rick.
It's fun, always fun talking
Yep.
to you.
Good to see you, buddy.
It was a good time. So we're going to bring in our next guest, and I think we've already spilled the beans on who it's going to be. Captain Pete Alex. Pete's strutting in. He's off camera right now, but he's got a nice strut.
Well, no, it's as fast as he can walk.
Oh, is that how he walks?
He doesn't have his walker. All right.
I got my rally cap on already, prepared to fight. Casey, I'm already in position.
I mean, you make that look good.
Like this?
Yeah. Yeah,
Pull
Doug
up a little bit close to that mic. Rick was actually perfect on that.
Well, look at the size of his head.
He's used to this.
Seriously. He's got
He's
twice the
bigger
size of
than
the
me.
head as a normal human being. It's going to be close.
I had to pull the chair closer because Rick is
Yeah.
a little bigger than me, so I had to
Oh.
scrunch up.
Well, and he's not even here to defend himself.
That's right.
He did put
He'll
a few
hear
pounds
about it.
on
He'll
since-
hear about it.
since he got
All right,
married,
we're going back to normal.
His wife's a
mode
good
here.
cook.
Right, that's what'll happen.
That's what
Did you make the
happens.
team, by the way?
I
Did you make the?
I'm just.
Are we on, by the way?
We're
kids?
on.
yeah.
I just want to make sure.
What team?
I
I just wearing. Doug gave me this to wear. I just said that being next to you, I wanted to look as good as you.
Did you get a contract offer yet?
And now, I did not. It's possible it's coming. I don't know.
Pretty soon.
You know,
Just, you keep
they said-
you keep working
I'm doing
hard.
my best for you.
Do a good job.
Mhm.
You keep working hard at this game, and
Yeah, I'll put my
I'll
time
put
in
a
for
word
you.
in for you.
I appreciate that, Pete.
but I think they're interested.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So what I did is I put this on just to look good like you because you got your hair cut.
I-
Because I saw you prior to this a couple
Yeah.
days. Shaggy. I mean, that's
Well,
the best.
I
Shaggy Alex. That's what he was going by in Erie.
I told you I would probably have the wings, just a little hucklebuck.
Yeah.
So I figured you're going to be ready to jab me about the wings coming out.
Yeah.
And then I hucklebucked
I
you and
saw-
got them all cut
So
off.
I didn't get a haircut or shave, but I figured I could at least have this jersey on with
That's
him
how
to
you
look
look
as
in
good.
Wilson half the time, most of the time.
Well, Pete, I don't have time. I don't
know.
come in after one trip and clean my boat for 2 hours, go take a nap, bug me. Hey, Prisco, what are you catching out there? I need to come out in the morning. What's going on? I'm out there fishing 2 trips a day, Pete,
True.
while you're,
Nope.
quote unquote, I'm going home to do paperwork and work. Your kid told me what you do.
True story.
And so did your mate
True
before you
story.
fired him.
Less than 5 naps a year, not a season. Honest to God,
What are you considering a nap?
I don't go to bed at all.
What are you
Zero.
doing while you're home?
I got COVID. I took 2 naps during COVID
Well,
season.
yeah,
I got
I
whacked
understand
out,
that.
but
But so what are you doing when you're
No
when you're
naps.
done with your charter? What are you doing?
I go to work.
You watch your
I
mate
have
clean your
I
boat.
have my real job. I
You-
go
you-
back to.
Yo, stop. You know what? I've been hearing about this real job for a long time, Chris.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
What do you think he does?
They say he's got a roofing business.
Yeah.
I've never seen him wear an Alex roofing shirt. You look up Alex roofing on the internet, doesn't exist. I think it's all.
Well,
I think it's
you-
all a scam. To be honest with you, I think he's hiding.
Would you like to bet $100 in front of the public on that?
No, you know what, Pete?
Alex Roofing site does not exist.
We've bet with you before.
$100. Take it.
When I
or leave
fished
it.
Cold State, we bet with you before.
Trevor
You didn't
can
make
look
good
it up
on your bet,
online.
so I'm done
before
betting
this,
with you.
Before this is over,
No.
we can have the $100.
Listen, I was giving you a shameless plug. If
Is this
anyone's
west?
looking,
West. Come westerly to me. Let's talk coho fishing.
oh yeah, I'm excited about that. It's gonna be good.
I like.
So coho fishing?
I love coho fishing is one of the funnest things. I think kings are overrated some days. You know, I really do. A lot of guys like to kings.
They're
but
bigger.
cohos,
Don't get me wrong, they're bigger, but
they are,
cohos
but
are
they're
so
just
much fun. They beat you up.
They're a nice change up.
Yeah, if you want to kill 12 cohos, you better hook 36.
Oh,
Welcome to Alex
See
Roofing Company.
That's.
It doesn't say Pete Alex. There could be any Alex out there with a roofing company.
Would you like my business card next? But that'll be another $100.
No,
to fool
there's
us
not
out.
good reviews. Of course not. Guy looks homeless running the place. You know, his hair. I mean, if you're gonna run a professional business like that, you should look like a professional, Pete.
he was trib fishing. That's the trib look.
Oh, I know the dude.
It was a
look.
center pin.
That was the dude look.
Dude, it was a center
Yeah,
pin time.
yeah. Were you center pinning? Do you have a center pin?
Can't tell you.
You're not a center pinner. You have.
I have a center pin
Yeah,
rig.
it's probably your kids. You took away from.
I have a center pin rig.
Really?
I do.
Do you use it?
No.
Yeah, I know. It's too sophisticated for you. It's way advanced.
The casting was overly complicated.
No,
for
it's
me.
not, Pete. It's really not.
For me, just
Pete-
for me.
Oh well, I can understand.
Let's talk about cohos again.
Yeah, back to co-host.
Back to cohos.
What do you like about fishing cohos, Pete?
Me?
Yeah.
An unpredictable fish. Okay, you can catch them high, you can catch them low. They bite really close to the boat. You can catch them on a variety of tactics, but not like everything. Like it's really more specific driven, like things that they really like. But they're just fun to catch. They're unpredictable. You can catch them 12 feet behind the boat on short divers or on the surface, and then you can catch them 100 down. They're just exciting. They come in quick. You can get 2 or 3 at a time. Boom, boom, boom. Then this is fun.
When they set up together in a school and you go through, it's mayhem. You can't keep all the rods in the water. There's just things going everywhere, and people are losing them. You're just like, all right, try this one. Just try this one. There's just rods going everywhere.
They're just fun. Kings are great. Don't get me wrong, but cohos are the fun side.
And they're delicious.
And it's diverse. They're good eating.
Very, very good eating.
And like last year, and I think this year's gonna be the same. We have more of a mild winter, and I think they're gonna be.
The emerald
They were really
shiners.
nice size. They were really nice size last year. They weren't 17 or 18 inch little fish. They were these nice chunky 21 to 25 inch. So bit hard, fight hard, twirl around, throw your gear.
It's fun.
The bag.
Experience it last year with you, and yeah, it's one of those things too. And to get to bring those home and throw them on the grill in the summer, it's good eats.
Yeah. How do you like to cook your fish, Pete?
Well, one more thing to add about the
Sure.
coast. Another thing, like us West End guys, we have this little window. You kind of get the best of both worlds.
I do.
I only have like half the window. They're like a westerly fish in the spring, kind of like the Lake Erie walleyes. They kind of started out in the West End where it's a little more fertile, blah, blah, blah. So we get this crack period time to catch these cohos. And then by mid-June-ish, they start to migrate. Some already migrate towards Casey land at the east end. They go out in the middle of the lake, and they're a little harder to find unless
No one
you
hears
really
from 'em.
commit to it. They just kind of do the thing. They're gone. So it's our timetable to get these fish, and then they're most of them are gone by mid-June-ish. So
And we don't see them on our end. It'll probably be the middle of August. You'll hear, oh, somebody got a coho, and then somebody got a coho. And next thing you know, the trains arrive. The coho trains arrive to Mexico Bay, and it's a blast.
I'm kind of envious. I see some of the cohos he catches. They're really a pretty fish. They get that bronze, a bronze. They get the hook kite. They get the kite going
Gonzo
on.
nose.
They're really a really good looking fish. They fight like heck, So I'm not like, he's showing these cohos. I'm like, we're catching kings and some steelhead, but occasional coho. So I'm a little envious. Like, I just want to take a ride up there.
I've invited him
kill
down
a box
several
of
times,
cohos.
Chris, but he just doesn't come down. He's probably busy running that imaginary roofing company.
That's true.
So when they get to you, they're getting towards the end.
Yeah.
So what time of year is that when they get?
Mid-August, September, and when we see them, it's funny. Like I get to catch them on west end of lake, and they're like he said, 20 to 25 inches. Probably, I'm gonna guess them 4 to 7 pounds. The average out here. By the time they get down to us, they've gained 5-6 pounds. Some of them even bigger. 2 years ago, I had one 19 pounds.
We caught a side note. Our biggest one we ever caught. We caught a couple 17 and changes in the spring, which were really big spring cohos. But last
You had a
first
big
week
one.
of summer, we took a beautiful 21-pound coho. It was
That's
like
huge.
it's just not a mark on the fish. It's going on the wall. A beautiful 21-pound legit fish. It ate a stud rig.
So what do they do? That's my question. What do they do from the time they leave Wilson to the time they get to you? Where are they eating?
Offshore, blue water. The one time we fished the Canadian tournament and the inside water had gone bad and we ran offshore. And we ended up fishing about 22 miles, kind of on the Canadian side, like off Oak Orchard. And we had 4 or 5 cohos out there in the middle of the lake. And that would have been maybe mid-June.
Mid-June, yeah. Third week of June.
But they're on their way. I think they go to the middle of the lake. They find, bait out there and they gorge. I mean, they have no problem eating.
Right, we're not finding them mixed with the kings or the king spots, like inside of 200, 120. Like, it's rare to ever catch a summer coho inside of 200 feet, it seems.
Yep.
Like, they're out there in La La Land.
And we don't see them out in our end. We've a few spring cohos you'll see that we have down there, but not like you have down here. And then those big ones just, like I said, mid-August show up. And when they show up, you can tell. Your flies start coming in all twisted up.
Yeah, they do this.
They spin a lot. I mean, they will wad your fly up and just swim away.
Is there any way to find those fish when they're out there? I mean, is it just basically they're just out in the middle of nowhere and it's just got to luck into them? Or how do you track down fish that are out there in that
temperature
deep
breaks?
You know what we're going to do?
You can find breaks.
Me and Pete are going to put balloons on them this spring. Probably, little balloons, and we'll let them come back and let them swim. Maybe 50 feet of line. They're in the top 50 most times.
Yes.
So we'll give 75 feet, and then just look for red balloons. If you find the red balloons, cohos are there. But honestly, I don't know if you can find them. I mean, it's a big lake. Let's be honest.
Right.
You could spend a lot of time out there, and I honestly don't know. I mean,
they're out there on that border. I mean, we've caught them going over there for the tight lines tournaments where, like, we'll run across the pre-fish, then we'll get across to the Canadian line, and then we'll deploy a program just to eliminate water and see what's there. And we've gotten some really nice cohos out in middle of the lake, literally, but they're not enough weight to do well in that tournament. But we catch them out there in La La Land. It's a long boat ride for a charter to do specifically, but I mean that's process of elimination. They're not inside here, they're not over here, so that means they're out in the middle, usually in the top 50 feet.
All right, let's get back to spring cohos. Fish we can actually fish. Yeah. What's your spring coho program look like? What's it look like when you're set up and go check
orange?
A lot of orange. Probably my go-to rig is a double crush, a 6-inch Dreamweaver double crush orange spin doctor, and a small fly.
What kind of fly?
18-inch. A Dreamweaver peanut fly, normally in the beginning, and then I do the modified fly. I'll nip a full size like atomic fly. I'll nip about an inch off that as the season progresses and the fish size increases and the bait increases. I'll modify a regular fly, chop it down. Well, I call it a modified fly. But those are good. We fish a lot of surface baits. The rattling thin fins are actually these bright orange red bombers up on the surface. And then we'll run 4 divers. Typically, we've got 2 deeper ones for kings, but we'll run monofilament divers out to the side with, again, these spin doctors or super slims, orange back spoons, hot colors, and then a lot of sliders with super slims on our downriggers. So,
how about you?
Dreamweaver 6-inch spinnies, Mirage fly from Atomic.
Good fly, great fly.
It's a really good fly. I think some Atomic peanuts. He does a hammer peanut that I do really good with. Some super slims, some stinger spoons, like he said, all bright colors, oranges. My diver, I actually have a unique rig. It's called the Sneaky Pete rig. So I went over to Pete's house one day. He said he had some Taloras and some Dakotas that he was, getting rid of, and I had bought another boat. So I went over his basement, and after I bought what I bought, I caught my eye, and I said, Pete, what's that? And it's this beautiful 8-inch orange spin doctor that he had made in hopes of being able to catch fish on it, and just did not happen for him, which happens a lot, But not just to Pete, to many of us think, oh, yeah, it's going to be a crusher, and it doesn't work.
We talked about kind of that yesterday. Works on one boat, but doesn't work on the other boat. But
I said, Pete, can I get them? He goes, yeah. Just give me $100 for him. I said, Pete, $50 a Dreamweaver? He was a custom. So I give him $100. I go out in the lake. I put it out. It's not in the water for 10 minutes. Singing. Yeah. Coho. Put it back out.
We had a bet actually that day.
Yeah.
First person to get that rig to go.
Because now he's going to use it because I'm putting in the water.
Oh,
it's been benched for 5 years. I was like, the dust came off. A couple dead spiders and stuff. And now he's going to run it. Coho. Put it back out. King. Put it back out. Coho. It's been one of my best rigs out there. I continue to use it, especially when I have him near me. I like the lot because he uses binoculars a lot. He's always sneaky Pete, peeking to see what's going on. So I make sure I have that out in the water. But it's really good on a diver with a full-size atomic live line Mirage fly. So I do the best. I was curious if it would work on the east end, and it 100% did. It was taking kings and cohos down there too. They like it. Call it Sneaky Pete. I think Fat Nancy's going to have it on their shelves, and I'm hoping maybe Pete will give it a try again this year.
True story. I couldn't get that rig to fire for me, and he scooped it up, and he made the magic happen on the dirty.
I got half of my money back that I had to pay for these overpriced attractors, but I'm glad I did because you know what? The fish I caught, the client smiled, so it was worth the hundo.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to ask you is like, what is that? How does that program change down on the east end late in the year compared to what you're doing out of Wilson?
Normal years, we get to fish the cohos with some, we call them rock stars. It's a stinger chip. It's red. We'll run a green crinkle, Mirage fly behind that, hammer fly, stud fly. Really depends what that coho wants that day. But we use a lot of red chips down there. Lately, our temperatures have been so deep with the weather we've had that we're fishing, and this is going to sound crazy, 11-inch chips, stinger chips, and flies, 36-inch leads from Atomic, 120, wherever the temp is. Most of the last couple of years, our coho has been 120, 130 feet down, 3 feet off the ball. And they are down there stacked. And when you go through, rigger, and you get them on coppers.
What kind of speed down there?
2.4, 2.5,
okay.
Just with flies.
Aggressive, kind of an aggressive presentation.
Well, it's an 11-inch chip, 3 feet off the ball. She's spinning. And
it's aggressive.
Yeah,
very aggressive.
They like it. They like it. It's wild.
We wouldn't know because we don't have very many co-hosts at our end of the lake.
I invite Pete down. Here's your invitation live, Pete. If you'd like to come down and fish the east end of Lake Ontario, I'll even give you a place to stay.
I'll come down.
Bring your kids.
I'll come down.
Good father-son trip,
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's a question I have for you guys, and mostly for you, but maybe you can answer this too. So in the spring, when you're fishing in Wilson, those fish are all over the water column. You got surface flies out. You got stuff down deep. And now you're telling me at the end of the year, they're way down at the bottom.
They're temperature related. So they still like temperature even before they go to spawn up the river. When our temperature gets pushed in, something like last year, we were catching our kings in 45, 50 feet of water in 60-degree water. If you wanted to catch the cohos, you slid out to 70 feet of water and you found 56, 55-degree water, and your cohos were there piled up. But with the east end of that lake, if we get any type of west blow, our temperature starts to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And last year, by the time the fish showed up, we had maybe 8 days where we could target them in that 80-foot range and less. And the next thing you know, a wind came 3 days, half of them went up the river, and our temp was 140 feet down. And it makes, it's tough to fish them like that. It really is, you can get them.
So we've had a really warm winter. There's really no ice on Lake Erie. How do you guys think that's going to affect that Wilson bite this spring?
I'm excited.
Advanced fish probably will be spread out right out of the gate. Like you might have kings all the way at the east end of the lake. You might have them from Canada to maybe Oswego out of the gate, and which isn't a bad thing. It really spreads the pressure on them. They don't get beat up as much. They get really beat up at the west end of Lake Ontario in the spring. A lot of casualties.
Oh yeah.
So when they're spread out, the mortality of the fish isn't as drastic. More people have a shot at them early. Instead of these guys on the east end beating brown trout up or jonesing for Lakers, bam, they got kings to catch for their customers, which is
it's always a cool surprise. You're going along and you're catching browns and you're fighting. I mean, there's some good fights with the browns. You're using 10-pound tests. In a 9-foot medium light rod, and next thing you know, it takes off and it's not a normal fight, and it dumps 400 feet of line pretty quick. It's a fun time. It's a fun thing to see on the boats.
Generally, the fish are going to be bigger. You're going to see that their bellies are more like
Rick's.
more like Rick Hajecki's belly. Okay, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I got him, Pete.
We might pay for that one later, but that's right.
It's all right. He's married
But
now. No.
they're eating. Their bellies are fuller. Usually, traditional winters we start catching them beginning of May. They're like lean. I'm like, you don't even find bait in these fish yet. They're very skinny fish, lean. They're healthy, but they're just coming out of that deep water and they're not acclimated to gorging on alewives. So when they come out early, they're starting the whole thing early, whether it's emeralds or mostly alewives. Everything's advanced.
Smelt.
Fish are bigger. The cohos will be bigger. The fish are spread out further. We might be fishing 300 or 400 foot of water in early May versus 60 to 120 right out of the gate. So that's one thing about fishing. You never know what's going to happen, and how weather, wind, temperatures affect it is have us all thinking. But we'll know pretty soon.
So spread out the fish, spread out the pressure too.
I think the bait's happy this year. It didn't have a hard winter, so you're going to see some healthy bait.
And then we'll go back to the cohos a little. So fishing out of Wilson is generally pretty doggone good, but not always.
No, it can be tough.
We have to grind. So back to the coho program, guys who are more adverse at catching more than just kings, right? They run a dual program. They help fill their cooler, generate bites for their clients, which cohos are a quality fish. That's where guys just are going to grind kings all day might come in with 4, 5, or 6 kings, right? We're going to get our 12 fish. 6 might be king, 6 might be coho, but we're going to get our fish. We're going to provide a good bite for our clients because we're going to tune up the cohos. We're going to take what the lake gives you. If it's not practical to go out and try and catch 12 kings, which it isn't always, we're gonna take what the lake gives us, and if it's a nice mixed box of kings and cohos, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Bend the rods.
People
didn't come for a boat ride.
put smiles on the people's face.
Yep.
No one likes a boat ride unless you're a sailboater.
Well, Pete, I appreciate you coming on.
Real quick.
And the other night, doing the co-host thing too, it was awesome having you do that for us too. It was fun.
It was fun.
I like having you guys on and getting an opportunity to let the captains ask some questions too. It's great. I think it's great for the viewers and listeners. Casey, I'll let you throw one more.
Yeah,
we've got a guy here. The forage base for Russell isn't quite what it is for the rest of us.
Sure. Oh, well, I can tell you a little bit what's going on there too. But
Look, Russell's pretty skinny. You can tell the forage base is light coming from the west.
So
look at Russell. He's a good example.
Yeah.
That guy's pretty lean.
Yeah, it's cold in Wisconsin. not a
He
good
looks
bait.
like a spring king coming out of late April.
Right.
Here's what we got, Pete. I got to ask you. I did fish on your boat one time. You allowed me to be a co-captain mate, and that was a great time.
Yeah.
And I noticed one thing. Did you ever lay a rod on the deck of the boat?
Voodoo. You don't lay rods. Well, that's what we have rod holders for. Or a customer to hold a rod.
Yep.
We don't lay them on the boat.
You wouldn't lay it on the lay it like down.
It's like an OSHA safety hazard. That's the roofing part of me coming out.
Oh,
it's
it's
a trip hazard.
Right.
A customer could trip over it and do a face plant, or I could right into the rigger. It could step on a rod and break, $150 Talor rod, which is a no-no. It's actually a minus for that day's profits for a charter.
Yeah, you're going to lose on that one.
So no, rule of thumb is the rods, when you're done or the angler's done, you put the rod, stick it in the rod holder and capture the rod.
I was just curious. And, in Wisconsin, they don't have rod holders, or they don't use them like that.
Free for all?
Well, Russell's on my boat, and first fish we catch, he takes the rod right on the back of the gunnel. And I'm looking at it, and I'm not saying anything because he's his first day. First on the job. 2 weeks at CFA, Wisconsin.
And it's back
two
on his
rods,
boat.
2 rods, crisscrossed, net on the floor across them.
Did you text them or message
Oh
them?
my God, I blew him up on Facebook.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
qualified angler like him. I mean, as good a fisherman he is. You imagine how better it'd be if he didn't have rods breaking all the time because they got snapped and stepped on?
Good coaches need to correct their students and their the athletes.
I'm bringing them back this year, and I'm going to correct them.
All right.
Yeah. If you see it, though, I want you to correct them, too, as a friend.
I just want to say one last thing, Chris, before I know we're gonna hold him up, since it's public, it's videotaped. If he comes in with a broken rod on your boat, does he have to pay for it this year?
Hell yeah, definitely.
what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
Him and his mate. I'm taking it right out of their pay.
Chris, that's
Doc, you can
documented.
take that to the bank, Chris.
We will put it out there
Yeah.
for the whole world to know.
Yep. And I'm telling you what, I'm going to tell my clients I'm going to give them $50 off the trip if they ever see a rod with a picture laying down. So
Don't forget, submit your resume to Doug at Fish USA.
I will.
Tell Rob the bad news if it happens.
Rob wouldn't be mad about it.
Okay.
He wants to see everything be happy. He's you know what? It's enough business for everybody, and that's his motto.
You're fun.
You're fun too, buddy.
We'll see you.
All right.
Thanks,
Month and a half.
Yep.
Chris,
I'm
thank
going
you.
to see you later.
Yeah.
All right.
Take care. All right. The next
comes.
legendary guest we got coming up here, Captain Russell Gahagan.
Here he is.
Oh boy,
Here he is.
Go.
How you
Here
doing?
we go.
Rod holder Gahagan.
Oh yeah, I've already heard. I'm already getting abused, and it didn't even start yet.
Oh,
Oh, did I just break that?
Yeah.
yeah. We don't touch the mics.
Yeah.
Don't
You don't
touch
touch
that.
Pete Alex's mic.
Okay.
Put you in the corner.
You got him tuned up to the model.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, you guys got me a little shaky now. All right.
He's done a ton of these podcasts, and we got him. It's good.
Yeah. Russell, you're here
Yes,
at the
sir.
show with your brand Salmon Candy.
Yep.
Tell us how the show's going for you.
Show's been great. I was part of the salmon school that the show puts on today. I'm in the middle of my run of salmon schools. I think this is number 5 of 9. So I've got 4 more to do after this before I join Casey in May and Wilson. And yeah, it was really good. We had 170 people in there today. A lot of people really interested in salmon fishing on Lake Ontario. Lots of different levels, expert fishermen, tournament fishermen, some charter captains in there, all the way down to, rookie amateur fishermen, brand new, just getting into it. So really good. I wasn't out here on the floor today, but my guy I talked to said the attendance was great. It was busy all day. So it definitely sounds like guys were excited about the show.
You're a Wisconsin guy. You cut your teeth on Lake Michigan. You came out last spring, fished with Casey. You come out here and do your schools.
Yeah.
What's other than the rod holder thing? What do you see as like the big differences between fishing out here compared to fishing? You were a Sheboygan guy, right?
Yep.
Fishing out your home port in Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Watercolor. That's it, really. Other than that, the fisheries are very similar. The way we approach them and how we fish for salmon at home and how Casey fishes for salmon here or mirror each other. The real difference is just watercolor. Back at home, Lake Michigan has basically zero color left to it. It's blue water everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're on the shoreline or out in the lake, in the middle of the lake. Here on Lake Ontario, especially in that Wilson area, you have a bunch of color to the water. And then, even up the shoreline further east, if you're inside of that, 80, 100-foot range, you still have some color to the water. So it's a great disguise for fish. It's a great disguise for the bait. And what it means is your lure choices, the types of setups you use, those kinds of things are just going to be a touch different here than they're going to be at home.
Can you go into that a little bit, like what that looks like as far as the differences compared to what you would fish on Lake Michigan and Sheboygan and that clear water to here with a little bit of dirt in it?
Well, first and foremost, lesson number 1 Casey gave me that he whipped me with a Telora rod right off the bat in the first 30 seconds I was in Wilson.
Do that.
He does that, believe me. He loves to tell this story. So at home, I was, I will say, I was one of the guys that really innovated a lot of the stealth tactics we use, and particularly long leads behind downriggers. So I like to run a lot of 75 to 150 feet behind a downrigger with a spoon, flasher fly, meat, whatever. So I'm setting out the first rod in May last year, putting it out, and I've got it back there 50, 60 feet, and all of a sudden Casey looks at me and he goes, "What's that on the surface back there?" And I'm like, "That's my spoon." And he's like, no. He's like, "This is Wilson." He's like, "You can only see a couple feet down." He's like, "Bring that thing in here to 10 feet. So I reel it all the way to 10 feet. I'm thinking to myself, okay, whatever, wrap it up, put it on the release, get it down there. I didn't even get to grab my diver rod, and it's already off the ball with the 1K a day winner that day, the big king of the entire slam that day, 22 pounds and change or whatever on a salmon candy spoon. Casey was obviously 100% right, but it just took me a minute
Wait, what did you say?
Casey was 100% right.
I like that.
Yeah.
I want to know,
Yeah.
did he share the money with you?
No. Well, no, let me take it back. He shared the money all week because he bought supper all week. So he did.
Yep.
In his defense, he definitely
used
did.
your
but
product.
Yeah.
You put the line down.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I think
On his boat, though, I think that wins.
My client reeled it in.
Yeah, his client reeled it on his boat. So, No, but that's really the big difference, right? So, and particularly in that Wilson area, you can get away with things. It reminded me a lot of when I was a kid. When I first started fishing a lot with my dad and with Dumper Dan back on Lake Michigan in the late 80s, early 90s, when we had color to the water, it made it so that, we ran shorter leads. We didn't have to run, copper and lead core then. It was a lot of just basically riggers and dipsies. You'd run 6-8 foot leaders behind your dipsies. You can get away with all of that in Wilson, if I use that term, I guess, get away with it because you have what I call the great disguise. You have color water. Obviously, the minute you get into some clear water, now you got to start to stretch things back. Now the long lines become more popular and all that kind of stuff. So really the other thing is color choice. You just use a lot of brighter stuff there than you would use in the clear water. And that's common. In clear water, you use a lot of natural stuff, blues and silvers, greens and silvers, yellows and silvers, but hence a lot of silvers. Here in Wilson, you're going to use a lot of glow in the dark stuff. You're going to use, like carbons, real gaudy, contrasty stuff that's really going to get their attention.
All right, you got anything else for him, Casey? And we'll get into salmon candy unless you got something good to add to that.
No, I'm really excited to have him come out. He's going to be here for the whole month or 27 days or 26 days running the boat, and I know he's got a lot of people from his schools coming out that he's actually going to be doing a seminar on the boat as he's chartering with them. So they're going to see the whole show. And, I think it's a good thing he's doing. It's no one really does a seminar. I mean, yeah, you can go on a charter, and I'm honest. Pete's honest. What he's doing, we're not hiding anything. Rick's the same way. There's a lot of guys that are like, but there's some guys that you go on a charter, they don't want you to know what they're doing. I don't know if it's, I don't know why. I can assume why, but I won't get into that. But I think I'm looking forward to him coming out and spending some time with him again. He's a good dude. He's a good fisherman, great fisherman. He gets it, and at the end of the day, it's I learned a few things from him.
Yeah. That's high praise.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's tough to get it out of him, but when you get it, it's the right praise.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
So we got a question here from Todd on Facebook. He wants to know, where is the next salmon school? Instead of giving us that, just give us what you have left in your schedule.
Yeah, so next weekend I'm in Sheboygan, my home area. I've got a 2-day deal, a novice and advanced. The weekend after, I'll be in Ishpeming, Michigan, up in the UP. Then after that, I go to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and that's on the Saturday of the big show there. And then after that, I go to Harbor Springs, Michigan, and finish up in Superior, Wisconsin.
All right. Is there like a home where people can go to see your schedule and sign up for your
So
classes?
it's on my personal website, www.russellsfishingtech.net. And you can go on there, see the whole schedule, and be able to sign up for any of those classes.
Russell has an awesome YouTube channel as well called Russell's Fishing Tech. And if you're watching this, it's a good chance you probably have already been there and already seen it. But yeah, Russell does an awesome job with the YouTube. So if you're really looking for an education on how to get started into salmon fishing, that'd be a great place to start, is just go over to Russell's YouTube channel and check that out there. Again, you're here at the show representing Salmon Candy. Tell us about, you got some new stuff this year with Salmon Candy.
Yeah, we got a bunch of new stuff as always. We brought out an 11-inch flasher, fishing with Casey and being able to fish over here in New York. The 11-inch flasher is a big deal here. These guys fish a lot deeper regular than we do at home. The Michigan side also does, so the 11-inch flasher is used highly there. We're coming out with plugs. They're actually not ready yet, but they will be. We're painting them up now. We came out with some new color stuff. One of the things that really took off here on Lake Ontario last year and then was really good in Wisconsin was a color called DeShano's BAM, which was actually a color Casey and I put together, believe it or not, 5 or 6 years ago for this show. We made it in a chrome, a green, and a white originally, and now we've added a black and a chartreuse, and it was just so good that we had to put it in the lineup and add some more colors. And
the weird thing is,
Song and Bam just walked by us.
The weird thing is, it didn't work when we first made it.
Yeah,
I couldn't catch a fish on it. It was right colors, and leave it to Bob Songen, one of the greats. He got it to work. Yep. And last year I watched it work on our boat several times.
Yep. Yeah, we put the green one out in Wilson when we were out together, and there was multiple days. It was our best rod. So, and I agree with him. It was kind of just a weird deal. It was 5-6 years ago already. It was kind of quiet, and then all of a sudden, Songen just started blowing me up 2 years ago, and it's like, this is the deal. And we're like, well, we got to add it to the lineup. So, but yeah, we just got a lot going on with Salmon Candy. We brought out some new color spoons that really took off. Our whole product line is seeing great success. And right now, the big deal for us is just able to try to navigate the inventory part. This was the first show we've done now where we didn't bring inventory. For me, that's tough because I know all these guys. I love my customers here. I want to sell them stuff on the spot. But for us to really continue to grow as a business, we need to focus on having the website full of inventory as often as we can. And then this year we've now added 9 dealers around the Great Lakes that are going to have our stuff, including 2 Lake Ontario dealers, 1 New York dealer and 1 Canadian dealer. So again, to be able to supply those guys, we need to be able to focus on building inventory, not necessarily hauling it around the countryside. So,
yeah, very good. You spent last spring out here with Casey. What did that do? I mean, you guys kind of talked a little bit about how the fishing was different, but what did that do as far as what you brought to Salmon Candy? What did you learn that you could bring to that brand and building different baits and lures for people to catch fish? What did you see doing that work that kind of changed some of that?
Yeah, and I'm excited to do it for longer this year, to be honest with you, because I'll get a little bit more information. But really what it does is it just allows me to see what I think, and this is no knock to anything else. I'm not saying Lake Superior is not great. I'm not saying Lake Huron's not great. But if you're a king salmon fisherman, I mean, you pretty much need to be on Lake Ontario or Lake Michigan, right? And obviously I cut my teeth and spend my time on Lake Michigan. So being able to come here and fish with Casey, I get to do 2 things. I get to see what a, expert Lake Ontario fisherman does on a regular basis. And then I get to
for an hour of just cutting on each other.
Yeah,
now we got somebody here.
Well, there's some love there. Yeah.
He probably needs something from me.
Yeah.
What do you want, dinner?
No. But I get to see the way he does things, and then I get to mix some of my Lake Michigan flavor. And what I really noticed a lot was what I said before, the color patterns. And what it did is it really opened up my mind to remember my customers out here and not just build everything for Lake Michigan. And it's hard to do that when you spend all your time there, right? So when I now come out with colors and I say, okay, we're gonna test 15 or 20 or 30 new flasher colors, and we're gonna knock it down to 6. I tell myself 3 really got to be Lake Ontario oriented and 3 got to be Lake Michigan oriented. Naturally, they will cross over some, but there are definitely colors we specifically make for the guys out here. And that's what that time does. Also to mention, I did come out in early July and fish with another friend of mine, Jonathan Forder, out of Oak Orchard, and had a great time doing that as well, and learned some more about the offshore fishery, the inshore fishery, because Wilson's a unique place. I think Casey would say that. It's unlike the rest of Lake Ontario.
It's the place.
Absolutely. So even though, I did learn some things there, that isn't necessarily the, a scope of everything on Lake Ontario. So being able to come, one of the things I'd like to do this year, and hopefully I can, is I'd like to get to Casey's home port later in the year, and again see another shot further east on Lake Ontario and see a little bit of that brown trout fishing and some more king fishing, so we could just continue to develop our stuff.
Good. A couple of questions from Posh. May use as her size flasher.
I'm going to start with both in the water and let the fish tell me what they want. Some days they're going to eat both. Other days they're going to eat a big fish, or they're going to eat a small fish, small 8-inch attractor. Let the fish tell you what they want and go from there. That's what I would say. To
me, there's 2 variables, pressure and depth. So in fishing with Casey right away, I saw that he does a lot of the same things I do, in the sense of our deep rods had big fish blades on them. Our shallower rods had 8-inch stuff on them. If there's not a lot of pressure, I'm going to use some of the bigger stuff and try to target the bigger kings. The minute that we get a lot of pressure, I'm going to downsize to more of the 8-inch stuff, because I feel like that's going to be a better presentation under pressure. And in Wilson, New York, there will be some pressure.
Oh yeah,
no doubt about it.
A lot of boats.
More side.
The big thing on that tank is going to color and the lure. So because so clear on Michigan with our high first light, going to be a thermocline level or maybe even higher. And then we're going to use some of that glow in the dark stuff, some of that gaudy stuff first light. And then as soon as that sun comes up and is really peaking, we're going to start dropping our stuff down into the cooler water below the thermocline. And we're really going to pretty much exclusively have more of that shiny stuff on, the stuff with UV tape, stuff like Megatron, Kryptonite, Optimus Prime, some of the stud flashers, any of that stuff that's shiny that it will reflect the light really well. That's really what we're going to go to after that first light.
How about you, Casey, in Lake Ontario? Other than color, what do you change as the day progresses?
Depths, stealthiness. Sometimes I'll bury a rod in the abyss, 150, 160 down. A big copper last year as the pressure got really bad and out here the fish got negative. I was running a 700 copper. I don't think a lot of boats have them, but I can tell you Russell didn't have one, which was nice. I was like, 700 copper again, Russell, 700 copper again. This year he will have a 700 copper on the boat and an 800. But that was down, I think, below where people were fishing, and those fish were still comfortable. And that made a huge difference. I mean, it was a game changer. I went out there and I put that rod out, and it was 5 minutes, it cracked over. And it went again and again and again. I think it took 7 or 8 shots in 2 hours to save the day for me. And that's when I realized they were down there. But that was more like a feeler rod. I put it out to see if that would work. And because I've had good luck with it before out here. And sure enough, there they were. Next thing you know, I sunk my riggers, stretched the leads, divers a little bit different, and I started moving some rods. It saved the day. So I think there's always active fish. I think it's just trying to find them, maybe out of your comfort zone. But when it gets tough like that, use it. I mean, explore.
Russell brought you on. Wanted to talk salmon candy. We got into a little bit, but I knew that
it's okay.
To get some
It's
questions.
okay. Yeah.
Is there something you wanted to touch on before we let you go?
No, I think at this point, thankfully, you guys had me on one of the first, if not the first, virtual fishing show you did, and salmon candy was fairly new yet at that point. I mean, we developed it, my dad and I, in 2014, but we really started promoting it in 2020. I think most guys, if they're pretty serious about salmon fishing at this point, know what salmon candy is and who it is. The big thing I always say is I'm just appreciative of all the people that, I have around me, guys like Casey, guys at home that, have befriended me and allowed me to have opportunities to do things like come to New York and fish and expand my horizon. And I think that's one of the things I bring to the table that a lot of guys don't, is I've fished all over the Great Lakes and all over the Midwest walleye tournament fishing and salmon fishing. And it's helped me sort of understand fish movements and fish actions in different places and different areas in the country. So it helps us, I think, make better products.
Awesome. Yeah. Russell Gahagan, thanks for coming on the show. Look forward to seeing you again.
buddy.
Yeah, fun.
Good to see you guys. We got to let a real legend in now.
Yeah, we got one more guest.
The man.
He is in the bullpen. Casey's excited about having him. I'm excited about having him.
Good friend, good guy.
He was like, I don't think I want to come on the show, but Casey says I have to.
I had to nurse him back. I had to get him some hot tea and honey.
Yeah.
Tom's a great guy, and I'm Dad's yelling at me. I'm always nice to Tom. Tom's a great guy. He's not like Pete Alex. He's my boy.
What did I do?
Don't touch the mic.
Oh, I already did.
That's no, you're fine.
Yeah, it'll just.
That's Pete Alex's.
Leave it.
It's junk.
Leave it.
It looks better actually. There, you can see Tom's face.
You can see Tom's face a little better. May not sound quite as good, but hopefully we're good. Tom Allen, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Good to be here.
First time we've ever had you on the show, so I'm excited about having you on. Tom Allen, you own Atomic. Tell us about the brand.
So, Atomic's 22 years in the making. We used some flies 21 years ago on the Cold Steel.
I know that boat.
And it was something that I had done a little bit for a while. And I just figured, hey, this is something I could do. And we started messing around a little bit, and one thing led to the other, and we widened a thing. But as far as the brand, we sell a quality product in a lot of areas, and we make a lot of different things now, and really an enjoyable little family-run business out of Oswego, New York, catering to all the Great Lake bordering states, but mainly Lake Ontario on the Canadian and our side right here in New York.
So you've got a lot of products now. What was the original product? Which one was the first?
So the first product was a trolling fly. It was a 4-inch trolling fly. We thought we'd just, do 12 to 24 colors, and that's all that we would need.
Right.
Sure.
So it went down like that for probably 6 or 7 years. Just a 4-inch troll and fly, targeting specifically salmon, on the Great Lakes, and our big thing was, we only need, this many colors, and that's where it started, and it still hasn't stopped. Guys like Casey, get a hold of me, like, we need this color, and I think to myself, we've been catching this many fish for this long. How can we possibly, need something? And how do we not catch fish all these other years without the dirty goose rig?
Absolutely.
Dirty goose rig, but the dirty goose rig is born, and it's the hottest rig, and it's outselling everything, and so that's how it started. And
Yeah, that's so funny. And we actually had a few other lure folks walk through today, and they're like, yeah, we started with like 6 colors, and then we realized that was not going to be how this thing is going to go. Like, it's going to get crazy. And when you have people like Casey that are out there fishing with this stuff, and they call you up and say, all right, we got this one, and it's got 5 dots on it, but I think what we really need is one that's got 6 dots on it. Like, how does that feel when those guys come to you and you're like, how is that going to make a difference?
It's really surprising the difference that those make. A lot of our base colors that we first came out with, colors as one and out, are just tweaked a little bit. Whether it's a bead color, a hook color, a more different color films, in an original popular color. So a lot of times, we'll follow a lead, that Casey has or that other captains have. A lot of times it's the next best thing, and sometimes it just doesn't pan out. We sort of build, 6 to, plus colors each season, and they get, used by our 70 staffers, and the ones that make it to the top, are the ones that we come out with for the next season. We put them in the shops, and a lot of them just never really make it. I don't know how he does it, just sort of
I get lucky. Hey, it's not hard when you have a great product like Atomic. Makes it easy.
So how has that product line changed? So we went with pretty slim product line at the beginning, and now we're
with just a few products, and then we added a meat rig. We had VHS introduced to Lake Ontario through the early 2000s, and so some of the existing products that we used, we couldn't use anymore. We brought back meat rigs in the later 2000s, so our line expanded to a meat rig product, which is small trolling flies added to a leader with a teaser head carrying a piece of herring, trailed behind the same attractors that we used to use. So it expanded into that, and of course, once you add a new product, all the new colors and all the new ideas,
sure,
come along with that. So as far as what it looks like now, it's a lot of our same product that we sold in 2001, 2002, we still have, and it's still popular. And that grew and grew and grew, and then the next product was added, and that's still growing today. And even the pieces of some of the products have changed as far as other manufacturers adding in different teaser heads or different styles of teasers themselves, and so it has just expanded into other other products that we use in the same way, trolling, in that sort of niche thing, trolling for salmon on the Great Lakes. And it's just more products, more colors, and of course more attractors, from manufacturers to go along with them.
Yeah, so how does that work? And the lakes have changed a lot over the last 20 years. How has that changed how you guys make your product? I mean, is different colors, different sizes, different things to react to the way that the fisheries have changed and evolved over the last 20 years?
So through the later 90s, zebra mussels, as an invasive species, entered Lake Ontario, and it changed a lot of the way we fish with colors, with presentations. Copper has been added into presentations, through the 2000s. So that changed a lot of things. As far as my product, colors are constantly evolving. Down where we are here, I'm on the western end of the lake. The Lake Erie waters, transition into Lake Ontario, and we have green water. Down where Casey does come up here and fish, but where we are based out of in the Eastern Basin, and we have clear waters. So
Tough fishing.
Yeah, it's tougher fishing, but the colors, a lot of the same colors still will work, but different colors work down where we are versus where the greener waters are up into here. That's one way, that has changed and involved my product. The presentations are also another big part of a real big part of our product. How we use them, how we employ them. We never had steel wire back in the day, and we never used copper back in the day, and so presentations are equally as much as a part of the changing as my product in itself. Yeah, and the attractors follow suit, as far as colors that we use, colors that are popular, one end of the lake, and even, within different lakes, and then how far down on the column we fish.
Casey, you have some questions for Tom you wanted to ask him?
I'm just going to thank him. He makes my job easy with his products, I'll be honest. And if I need something from Tom, he's quick to always positive about it and always there to help you out. And, if he knows something that's going on, he's there to share the info, and he puts a lot of smiles on my clients' faces. So I'm appreciative of him, and I'm glad he got to come on here and maybe give a little shameless plug on his product, because it is the best on the Great Lakes. It really is. There's a lot of guys trying to imitate, and I think that should be a sign that he's got it. He's figured it out, and he's just a great guy. He gives a lot towards the lakes, towards the tournaments, to the little anglers, the weekend guys. He's just, if you're into salmon fishing, definitely look up Atomic and support him. He supports you guys.
Tom, what's your favorite part about doing what you do?
Along with what Casey said, testimonials come back, after that fact, and it's very rewarding to be able to make a living doing what I do. Hearing the testimonials come back on how somebody caught a fish of a lifetime on the Dirty Goose on some of our pro staff boats. Casey sort of takes it to a little bit deeper, a deeper bearing, with some kids involved, but that's really a very rewarding part of being part of the fishery, and putting a product out there that a lot of people do that on their own, so for me to be able to do it for thousands, it's a little bit different level, and it's a great thing.
All right, I'm going to ask you, this is kind of like asking who your favorite child is, but what are some of your favorite products? If you're going to go out and go fishing, and I'm like, you can only take 3 flies with you, what are you taking?
The stud fly has really held its own. The last 7 to 10 years. It works in green water, works in clear water. So a stud fly behind probably a spin doctor, an E-chip is a standby. As far as a meat rig, goose rig, no joke rig. Casey wanted me to a little. I did, even with sometimes capital ideas. There's so many ideas, and they're not always great. But so that rig, has been put into our arsenal. We're just wreck guys. I'm not a captain, but we're wreck guys, and we fish some tournaments. So that would be a top rig, and one more item. I run a T186 green UV fly, and I run that behind like a Mountain Dew spin doctor or a Scumline Pro Troll, and those are 3 items that we pretty much employ all the time. We don't leave the dock without.
What's that mobile don't know
Now, she big fish, and he had, he's an amazing fisherman. He does amazing. He takes my dad perch fishing, and he did this probably, I'm going to say 6 years ago, 7 years ago, Chris. My dad goes on Facebook. He finally figures out Facebook, and he goes on and he sees Tom's got a couple buckets of perch. He goes, can I go fish with Tom? I said, oh, Tom's a good friend of mine. Let me ask. Tom, without a doubt, took him for a favor for me. And it's not what he likes to do, but he bent the rules for me. Takes my dad fishing, and I call up Tom, or Tom texts me. He was kind of slow. I said, my dad doesn't care. He said, he's happy to be out with you. It wasn't slow. My dad came home with 160 quart Yeti cooler stuffed. I have 37 pounds of fillets when we got done cleaning them and all I hear about is that's the only time my dad's, I think he's 66 right now, 65, that he's gone catching, not fishing, and that was with Tom. So I don't think
usually goes with you.
Well, yeah, true. Yeah. If we catch one and he's with me, it's a good day. But I don't think everyone sees all the work that goes into it, the hours that Tom really spends into his business and to helping guys like me and weekend warrior guys. I mean, it's stressful. I can tell you for him, it's 100% stressful. His hands are tied with the restraints of getting products and everything. And you always see him smile. You never see him in a bad mood. He's just like Mr. Lake Ontario,
That was the next question I had for you. It's been an interesting year or last few years for Fish Hawk, just getting the things that we need to put the products in the hands. And there's a lot of times in the last 2 years where people called us and wanted to buy something from us, and we just couldn't sell it to them because we didn't have it. What sort of challenges did this whole thing happen over the last few years put forth for your company?
It really the same challenges that affected everybody. We have 9-piece workers and keeping them in product, keeping our product line going. It's a year-round business, and keeping all our tackle shops happy who support us. What was a challenge? It was the same challenge. Just getting components and parts and pieces to keep the ball rolling. You run out of just a few things and you get behind in an area, and it's really hard to catch up. So it's getting better right now. And now, we also carry copper lines, and we're into, perch fillet, and we sell salmon eggs, and just keeping everything rolling. It's starting to catch up, but it's still not where it was. And I think it's going to take a while for all of us to dig out. And, but you keep chugging along and doing what you can do, and making it happen the best way you can.
I got a couple comments, one from Todd, the other one from Patrick, just saying, appreciate you giving us some buying opportunities, and sounds like doing a lot of people watching the show, doing them a lot of good as far as the business goes. We've been talking a lot about the past, what's been happening, and the last 2 years and the last 20 years. Where do you see this going? Where do you see kind of fishing, and also your role and your company's role in fishing in the next 10 years?
As far as the fishery, I give a lot of credit to the New York State DEC. A lot of anglers, can't wait to blame them, for a lot that goes on here. And personally, I think Mother Nature is, affects everything. I think the fishery is in good shape. I think it's in good hands, with what the DEC does. So I just see positive things. Everything is changing and evolving. Like at this sports show, the general demeanor of people is a little bit different. Everybody's sort of inquisitive as to what's going to go on, but in the big picture, we're all moving forward, and everybody just seems to be going through the motions and hoping for the best. So I see positive things, but
Mr.
even
positive,
pre-COVID,
awesome.
and
it's an awesome outlook.
You push through, and Pete Alex said something to me a while ago. You just push down your head and you shove, and you make great things happen. And I try to do that. I try to just keep going.
I always tell people, if you see problems all around you, you're going to create more problems.
Yep.
If you see opportunities, you're going to create more opportunities.
Absolutely.
And
True. Very true.
That's the way you got to look at a lot of things. Well, Tom Allen, appreciate you stopping by. People want to find out more about your brand. How do they find it?
So I have an online site, atomic.com. If you can't get stuff at your local shop, we're, in a lot of the mass merchants around New York State, both sides of the border. Pretty much every tackle shop can find my stuff. I like to advise people to go there first. There's a lot of mom and pop shops that really need the local businesses, especially especially nowadays. So, along the shoreline, all around Lake Ontario, you can find our stuff. And if you have to, look us up direct, we have it, and we're working at keeping it in stock just so we can constantly, keep it on the move.
Very good. Tom, appreciate you coming on here. People are walking out the door. It's getting real quiet in this building.
You hear that?
Yeah.
It's the casino calling me and Tom.
Yeah.
Let's go, brother.
You guys are
We're
heading
gonna roll.
that way?
We're gonna no sevens.
I got
Lucky dice.
$20 and I'm ready.
Yeah. Tom, thanks for joining me.
Yeah. Casey, thanks for coming over and hanging out
Chris,
with us.
thanks a lot.
Spending a couple hours with us and talking to people. And it's fun catching up, and it kind of turns into, the 2-hour comedy hour because we bring in your buddies and we get to do those kind of things. But
Absolutely.
It's also good just having some really good conversation with great people in the industry and great people that joined us this weekend. But just thanks for everything you do, and you've been really gracious with your time and your boat and everything with me and my family and my friends, and that's been a lot of fun for me too over the last couple of years. So I appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, guys. That's it. We got one more day left. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have Captain Rick Hajecki over on his demo boat. We're going to go through some Cannon and some Humminbird stuff over there in the morning, and then one more segment, an afternoon segment at 1 o'clock tomorrow, and that'll be it for the show. So hope everybody enjoyed things the 3 days. It's been a whirlwind. It's been really
wild.
crazy sitting down and having all these conversations. I hope people are enjoying it, and of course, this stuff will all go out on the podcast. It's all going to live on YouTube for a long time. So I think people get a lot out of this. So just appreciate everybody listening and watching. We'll see you tomorrow.